Hello and welcome to this episode 2 of Team Plague Presents. On today's episode we'll be discussing Warriors with Tyrese, Sixt, Hiddeh and Dragonmil. I'd like to thank all my guests for coming on and speaking, and unfortunately Dragonmil did have some problems with his internet during the recording, so his presence is a little bit on the short side. However, he did make a good effort fixing it and a good jerry rig, so props to him for doing that for us. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and the next episode following will be Druids. Good luck, have fun, enjoy the episode, and see you all next time. Anyway, Warriors, let's talk about them. Races, I know, well, I know what races you both play, but CQ, what race do you play?
I play human because, um, as I said, my main focus is PvE, and basically source specialization is too good to pass on. And yeah, that's it.
And you didn't think, have you never sort of thought about the race change, since it's become available? I mean, and what did you, just in general, what do you think about sort of gnome and dwarf in relation to PvP?
Well, of course, human is not ideal for PvP, basically because perception is not working like intended. It works sometimes it doesn't work. It's really random. But for PvE, there is no better race than human. But in PvP, I would say that dwarf is by far superior.
What's that? So that's gonna be Stoneform. What is it about Stoneform? Do you think that sort of is gonna push us over the edge versus say Escape Pass?
Well, stone form is it's a lot of things. Like basically, uh, it can help you while carrying flags, of course, by being immune to poison, crippling poison, giving you additional armor to survive more. Uh, I would even argue that that little bit frost resistance can help as well, that you get by nature. I mean, every little bit help versus frost mages, so you can't really neglect that. And basically, being immune to blind is being immune to whole another CC, and that frost resistance again gives you a little bit of hope that you can resist frost traps. That's basically the unbreakable CC that you can't get out of with heartbeat, and that's the most thing that hurts warriors as a CC. So yeah, I would say that it's really good. And of course, finding treasure, that's the most useful thing.
I've actually never ever used it. I've got it obviously on Caitlyn on my dwarf priest. Until you said it, then I don't think I've ever thought about find treasure. Um, for anyone that doesn't know what find treasure does, it's like track. I don't know, track humanoids or find like a mining node, but it shows chests, doesn't it? Isn't that what it? I think it does that.
Yes,
That's some OP shit.
it's really useful.
Okay then, Sixt. I think everybody knows that you play an Orc Warrior. So sorry to spoil that surprise, but what was your thought behind Orc then, and
User joined your
what do
channel.
you think about what do you think about the other options that are available to Horde side?
Well, I played Tauren on retail and I really didn't want to go back to that because the size is, I don't know, I didn't really like it. So the choice was basically Orc or Undead. Undead, I don't know, I mean, it came down to ratios for me because I felt the Undead ratio it's great for solo PvP, but it's not so much useful in group, and Orc has the benefit of also being the best PvE ratio for at least Fury. Because in my opinion, the orcs have the best ratios for group PvP on Horde because the stun resistance is really strong. Blood Fury is pretty situational, but sometimes it's very good as well. And it was even better before when it was bugged on this server and it didn't impose the healing penalty at all. So you just go around popping Blood Fury all the time.
I like the skill idea behind that.
Oh yes, free damage.
It's how much attack power does it actually give to you? It's your base attack power,
User
right?
left your channel.
It should be 25% more base attack power, but it's not on this server. It's 25% more total, I think.
Okay, so how much does that give to you now at the moment if you pop it now?
Well, now I don't have Battle Shout up, but I have 900 unbuffed without Battle Shout, and then with the Blood Fury I have 1125, so it gives me 225 attack power.
Okay, that's some balance shit right there.
It's like a Crusader proc.
And you know, if you just obviously you said you played Tauren in the past. What have you? And obviously Will of Forsaken. I think everybody knows Will of Forsaken now. What Warstomp? What are your thoughts about that? I mean, I've seen it used to great effect and to some pretty piss poor effect. What are your thoughts about that then? In a PvP environment?
It's situational, I guess, like everything else. I mean, it's pretty good for Beatles, but then everyone would have to be bunched up. Could be decent to catch a mage, but I don't think it outweighs the benefit of having either the stun resistance or Will of the Forsaken, because those are just generally more useful, in my opinion.
And if you were gonna, you know, obviously we're gonna see your faction change and join Team Plague straight away as soon as you got rank 14. We're gonna steal you like you stole Low Life. If you were gonna do that, what would you be on Alliance side? What race do you think?
I mean, if I like seriously re-rolled, I would probably go human, because it's pretty good for PvP and it's also very good for PvE. Just get the best of both worlds, but from a purely PvP point of view, I would definitely go for gnome. Because the size and escape artist is very, very strong versus mages, which is basically your biggest issue in PvP.
And CQ, if you were gonna be on the Horde side, would you? I assume you'd be Orc, or do you think you'd go for something like an undead and follow Mal's example?
Stun resist is too good to pass on. Too fucking good.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, so let's talk about warrior specs. I think everybody sort of knows the cookie cutter 31 20 spec that we all see from warriors, but I certainly know that you've played Fury in PvP before now, haven't you, CQ?
Yeah. Can you repeat that? Sorry.
You've played Fury in PvP before now, haven't you? What are your thoughts about Fury for PvP?
I didn't really play much. I was playing some,
User
just for
left your
fun.
channel.
Really, just for fun. I was trying some shit out with Viscag and shit. It's bad because Mortal Strike is too good to pass on. Like it's true you can cut through Clotters really good, but if you go on a warrior, you just hit him for 80, 20, 80, 100, 160 crit. It's you're not gonna hurt him, and there is no Mortal Strike effect, so one renew can out heal your damage basically, so it's bad. But it's really good for killing healers and warlocks, I guess. And Deathwish is, of course, really good.
Yeah. And what about you, Sixt? What have you sort of you experimented with anything different in the past, or PvP wise, have you always been the sort of traditional arms?
Yeah, I've never really strayed from the Path of Arms. I've tried Prot, which I hated a bit, because I like it just went in on some raid week without respecting. I've done like a few duels as Fury, which I also hated. I don't know, I don't think Fury brings much to the table really. I think you need, it might be pretty good with very, very good gear, but even if you do more damage than you do as arms, it's not going to outweigh the benefits of having Mortal Strike. It's just too huge.
I've tried dual wield arms. Have you tried that? Six with sword spec and Viscag and Trashblade in offhand with Hodge, and if you get like some sword spec procs and Hodge and Trash Blade proc and everything. You can misclick some clots. It's really fun.
No, I've never tried it actually, but yeah, that could work. The thing is, I don't really like basing too much around procs though, because you need to have some sort of consistent output, in my opinion.
Yeah, sure, but I'm just talking about fun specs, and it's not legit spec whatsoever. But I'm just saying it could be fun sometimes. With that, it could be really fun.
Oh yeah.
Everybody knows that what is all about procs, and what was it Mal said? Sword specs unpredictable. Isn't that the famous quote?
No, I believe he said it was unreliable.
Unreliable. Okay, sorry, my bad. Sword specs unreliable. So, well, obviously on that vein, I guess we can talk about the classic argument, or not argument, but classic discussion. Swords, axes, and maces. What are your thoughts, and why Sixt?
Well, I mean, it depends. If you're not limited by the weapons you have, I would most likely go for axes because it's a bit more consistent. However, I do think swords can really excel in group PvP. Maces, I don't know. Maybe if you play like with another warrior who's more like offensive minded, and then you have yourself, and then you go like mace spec with the full improved hamstring for peels. But generally, I would probably go for axes for just all around usability.
And well, I yeah, sort of same thing to UCQ, but I guess we should also mention there if we're talking about sort of rank 14 weapons here, where you're going to have, you're not going to be limited by the actual weapon itself or the item itself. You've got a balanced choice. What would you go?
Basically, if I could choose, I would go axes anytime. But at the moment, as Six said, you're limited with sword, like Bone River's Edge and Ashkandi. They're just too good. And yeah, I would argue that axes are much reliable. Of course, I can't deny that sword procs won me a lot of matches in Warsong Gulch and stuff like that. But I can really agree. And if you remember, we were playing when me and Hiddeh were playing. Hiddeh was the guy that was really offensive, and he was with mace, of course, Hand of Ragnaros, and I was the guy that was behind, peeling and protecting healers, and I was with swords, and it worked out like almost flawless. Yeah, I would say that it's really good to have both kind of weapons in your pre-made, like have mace and sword or axe and sword.
And the mobile phone as well. That's what we like to see. Um, so I guess sort of taking a step back when it comes to specs. Do you think do you think prot has sort of any place at all in vanilla PvP? I know that certainly some of Team Plague's prot warriors have sort of valiantly tried to flag carry in Warsong Gulch in the past. Side springs to mind, and you said yourself you accidentally, or Sixt, you accidentally ended up prot for a brief period of time in Warsong. And I know now that you actually carry flags as well. You know, is it worth being prot? What are the benefits in your eyes, and why did you sort of write it off?
I would call it pretty much useless because if you're prot, you do not have piercing hull, assuming you go some prot PvP spec, but I really don't see the point in
User
that.
joined your channel.
But if we go from PvE prot, it's just not worth it. Like maybe if you have bad gear, but with better gear, you can survive fine enough as arms. And I mean, your main issue is always going to be casters that just tear through you, and being full PvE prot doesn't really help versus that. I mean, you get last stand, but it's 10-minute cooldown, and I mean, it's only going to buy you some time.
So if you didn't, I don't know, say we didn't have life-giving gem, you just wouldn't. I I can certainly remember in vanilla there were off tanks that were sort of Mortal Strike prop with Last Stand. I can remember my actual my raid leader who plays in Team Plague these days said to me in vanilla that he felt that as long as you have Mortal Strike as a warrior, you can sort of just go along with the PvP, and then he'd have Last Stand on top of that for PvP because he didn't have Life Giving Gem. What are your thoughts about using sort of a mix, I guess you could say? Probably not optimal, but would you, if you are running flags consistently, would you think about that sort of hybrid spec you mentioned of using piercing howl and things like that, or is it just always going to be better to be traditional cookie cutter, and if you end up carrying a flag, you're carrying a flag?
Yeah, I think still the cookie cutter spec is the best because PvPing without piercing hull is going to be a big struggle, especially on this server because you have sometimes a weird latency, which means that it's really, really hard to land melee attacks on targets. And piercing hull is just amazing for catching stuff that's just outside your range. Furthermore, as Horde, warrior flag carrier isn't that viable because you have no freedom basically. I mean, what makes it sort of work on Alliance is the freedom that makes you be able to run away. But as Horde, if you get hamstring on you, you're pretty much done. I mean, you can't run, then you gotta kill.
It is viable every 30 minutes. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So you can do it for one flag, and then you're fucked.
Yeah, basically.
I'm assuming you're talking about shield wall here.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Masterful deduction there. So, looking at sort of specs between Arathi Basin and Warsong, if you were specifically designing a spec for one or the other, would you do any variations, or would you always keep the same spec? Obviously, there's not much you can change. You mentioned improved hamstring, for example, as being something that you'd go for, and just before you popped on, Sixt, myself and CQ were talking about booming voice, improved demo shout, and unbridled wrath. Sixt, would you change anything between what you'd consider to be the optimal spec between A, B, and Warsong, or would you, is there the best spec that just serves all purposes?
I might get 5 out of 5 in 200 for AB because hamstring is not that necessary there. So you'd probably drop a few points. I use a bit of a different spec now than I used to because I used to roll with 5 out of 5 in 200 spec, and which was mostly just a nuke spec. But now I'm a bit more focused on utility.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, AB is more about being able to just blow up one target, so you don't really need that much control. Just need a lot of damage.
Yeah. And what about you, CQ? Sort of same question, I guess you could say.
I don't know. I wouldn't really change anything much in my spec. Yeah, of course I would change if I'm flag carrying, but I'm not. And basically there is only one damage spec. Of course, it relies a bit. You can change a couple of things, but depending on what weapon you have, you have to go to a 5 out of 5 two-hand weapon specialization if you have some lower damage weapon like, I don't know, Untamed Blade. I don't know which warrior would use that weapon ever. Yeah. And if you have a much better weapon like Ash Candy or Grand Marshal weapon, rank 14 weapon, you can skip that two-hand weapon specialization because you have a lot of damage anyway, and you can put some in some other stuff like 3 out of 3 improved hamstring, or I don't know, improved execute, or 5 out of 5 enrage, or I don't know, blood craze. That gave me idea, the warrior we watched. It's a really cool idea with life giving gem and blood craze. When blood craze procs, you pop up life giving gem, you get more HP, get more heals. It could be an idea, I don't know. It's just variations, but I personally I wouldn't change my spec that much.
Okay, so you guys mentioned that sort of one of the biggest one of the biggest factors for you when actually choosing a weapon spec, and therefore specking is just the weapons that you have available at the time. You mentioned things like Bone Reaver's Edge and Ashcandy being the sort of main reasons that people end up playing swords. If I was to say, if I just make a warrior now, and I've just gotten to 60, and we're looking at sort of pre-raid gear, what weapons would I be looking to be picking up sort of early on in the game?
I would say definitely the Unstoppable Force is probably the best weapon available early on.
I can I can't really agree. I would say that Arcanite Reaper is much better.
What, just for the axe spec versus mace spec?
Yeah.
So, what's your thoughts behind that? Just the the fact that with
Um,
bad
well,
gear
my thoughts behind it is with with without any gear at all. Let's say you will have with your gear like 10% crit at all, if even that. I mean, you will have some, but it's really low. And to trying to do anything in battlegrounds, try like I don't know, with that mace, you won't get any crits whatsoever. And crit is the most important thing as a warrior because it controls your rage income, and rage is obviously allowing you to DPS with your abilities. So more rage equals more damage equals winning games equals more honor equals better gear equals you know what I'm going
win at
to.
life. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, Sixt. Sort of. What do you think? Do you agree or do you disagree? Why go for the tough then? Over say a Reaper or I don't know, even Ice Barb Spear.
I think on that gear level, even if you have like more crit, I don't think you're going to be able to do much damage anyway. So I would probably rather go for just feels and utility. Plus the Unstoppable Force as a weapon, it's superior to Arcanite Reaper. The proc is pretty good. And I don't know, when I started out being with my warrior, I used Nightfall, and pretty much all I did every game was just feel, because I didn't have really the gear to kill EFCs, and I mean that was earlier on the server when only Molten Core is out and no rank 13 rewards. Now with better gear, it's going to be even harder to kill stuff.
User joined your channel.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Wind Fury sort of also will play a factor in that sort of decision? Obviously, as Alliance, you're not going to be having the Wind Fury, so the rage generation that CQ is, or sorry, Tyrese is talking about, isn't going to be such a big factor. Does that factor into your choices when you look at weapons, or is it again just that's how you think it is, and there's no real particular thought behind it?
No, I mean Wind Fury, it's very nice, but in real situations, it's not up that often because I mean it's about positioning, which is of course you should always try to maximize. But I mean generally you have Wind Fury for the first clash in Medium Warzone, for instance, or the Blacksmith Zerg in AB, and then after that you
Okay, so I think my internet just ripped. TeamSpeak working? No, internet rip. Fuck my life.
Connection lost. Connected.
Alright, I do apologise about that to everybody. That was my internet going rip. I am back.
Yeah, but well, basically we're talking about Wind Fury. I think it's not really, as you say, there is much higher priority on grounding totem than Wind Fury. I can totally agree with Sixt. that it can be only used in first clashes, like pre-made versus pre-made on blacksmith and in the middle in Warsong. But it's awesome if you have it, but it's not life depending.
Okay.
No, I mean if you need to be able to play without it, otherwise it's just not going to work because it's up maybe 5% of the time total.
And what do you think about downranking win for your terms? I certainly know that in TBC when I was playing Warrior and doing Arena, a lot we only ever used rank 1 win for your term just to save mana on the Shaman. You know, do people do that on Horde side now, or is it always going to be max rank just because you know you're only going to have it down for a few seconds anyway before it gets replaced by grounding? You know, does the sort of the attack power boost that you gain from the extra ranks of Wind Fury matter, or is it all just about the extra attacks?
No, I don't think the attack power bonus is that trivial because I don't have the exact numbers because frankly I'm a warrior. I kill targets. I don't care about maps. But it's pretty substantial. I think it's about 300 or 400 extra attack power from the extra swings, and that's pretty big.
User left your channel.
And that's like 25% maybe of your total attack power if you have Battle Shadow. So it's definitely not something that should be overlooked, in my opinion.
I don't think downranking is worth it. I don't know.
Okay, so going back to sort of the discussion about weapon options, I think everybody would agree when you're looking at tier 2 weapons, it's really just about Ashcandy, but sort of Molten Core tier 1 weapons, and I'm including Zinrock into this sort of entry level raiding. You've obviously got several options that I'd probably consider
User
to be
left your channel.
perfectly viable. You know, you've got Bone Edge Reaver, Spinal Reaper, and Zinrock Destroyer of Worlds. Out of the three of them, what's sort of the best in slot choice for you guys, and why Sixt?
User disconnected from your channel.
I would go with Bone Reavers or Soul for us, but definitely Bone Reavers for the more easily attainable ones because the armor proc is huge and should not be underestimated. Even if they nerfed the proc rate or fixed it now, it's still very, very good, especially if you have longer uptime on targets, which you usually will have on an XC when you catch them. So it's definitely the weapon for me from that tier.
Yeah, definitely Bone Reaver's Edge.
And then Spinal Reaper versus Zinrocks.
I mean, removing 2100 armor from a target is... Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the last bit.
Talking about sort of Spinal Reaper versus Zinrock Destroyer of Worlds, what are your thoughts between the two? I don't know if you've ever used either of them.
No, I don't think I've used those. I would probably go Spinal Reaper, maybe, because Axe-Spec would be kind of nice. Although Zinrock has better damage range, because it's a slower weapon. Although that doesn't matter too much, since it's only overpowered as far as I know. It's not normalized. Mortal Strike and Whirlwind are both normalized. So it doesn't really matter which weapon speed you use for those.
And what about you, C? What about you, Tyree? Spinal Reaper versus Zinrock? Is Axe-Spec going to win out again for you, or do you think the extra damage you get from the Zinrock matters?
I'm personally not a huge fan of Spinal Reaper at all, because I don't even know why. I would probably, in that case, I would go for Zinrock.
Just because, yeah, fuck it, you don't like Spinal Reaper. No real thought behind it. You just don't like the weapon.
Yeah, well, no, obviously there is some thought behind it. I mean, for PvP, stamina is good and attack power is good. I don't know. And it looks cool. It's all about looks.
Okay, man. PvP trinket, or specifically why a PvP trinket. I know that in pre-mades in the past. I've seen a lot of warriors not bother using it. What are your guys' thoughts on it, and where do you think it sort of places when it comes to sort of hierarchy of trinkets, Tyrese?
Well, I've talked to you about it earlier today. Basically, there is 4 trinkets that warriors use a lot. That's Life-Giving Gem, Insignia, Hand of Justice, and Black Scan Breath. Um, the primary 2 would probably be Insignia and Life-Giving Gem, but when you use them, you can, of course, swap to your other trinkets. I think those 4 trinkets are crucial for PvP.
And what just burn the cooldowns on life-giving gem and
Yeah.
and your PvP trinket, and then swap the passives out for the intermittent period.
Yeah, basically, the ones, the Hand of Justice and Black Hand's Breath is obviously the DPS ones. You can use them when you're going for EFC, I guess, but I would still prefer using Life-Giving Gem and Insignia. Basically, Insignia is just because of mages. Like, if rogues stun me, I don't even care, but Frost Nova can be devastating a lot of times. So, and like 80 or 90% of times, the flag carrier is a mage, so I need to be on him.
What about you, Sixt? What are your sort of PvP trinkets of choice?
Well, I mean, the one I always roll with from the get-go is Insignia and Life-Giving Gem, because Insignia, for several different reasons, it's mages, of course, and then you can trinket out of stuns if you're about to go down. Like, if you trinket, then you know Warlock is casting on you, you can trinket to pop Shadow Reflector or Life-Giving Gem to survive the burst. But I use a lot of trinkets actually on use. I have the engineering ones. I don't have the Fire Reflector, but I have the other 2. I got the Net Trinket, Stopwatch, also Tidal Charm, which is extremely useful versus druids, because you can just stun them out of form and other stuff. Along with Net as well, which is situationally very good. But I don't use Hand of Justice that much anymore, because I usually just rotate between my unused trinkets. I always have a few of them up at least.
And what sort of dictates the trinket that you have equipped at the time? Do you know? You said you sort of start with the PvP trinket. What's the sort of number 2 and number 3 trinket that you're going to be looking? You know, if they're all up, what are the ones that you're going to be starting off with?
It depends, I guess, what the scenario. Like, if I have to go chase a druid, if we say both in Life-Giving and Insignia is down, I would probably go for Net and Tidal Charm, or possibly Tidal Charm and or Tidal Charm or Net and the Frost Reflector if they have a mage with them, or a hunter. But generally nowadays I stick to the unused trinkets. I use Hand of Justice mostly for the Blacksmith Surge in AB, along with the Life-Giving Gem.
So yeah, again, sort of comparing Warsong to AB. If you're playing AB, would you be looking at sort of those DPS trinkets and just pumping out the damage the same way you would with the spec, and just, you know, you put aside the more sort of cute trinkets?
Yeah, definitely. For AB, it's more about like consistent damage, and you don't really need the utility that much, because it's longer battles. It's not as much 1v1. It's more group, and you will usually have the spells and stuff like that.
But it also depends with who are you playing with. Are you playing with a pre-made or are you playing with pugs? If you're playing with a pre-made, you can almost 99% of times you can rely on your healers to get dispelled. So you can go with pure DPS trinkets like Crit and Hodge. So I don't know. With pre-made, I would definitely go for Crit and Hand of Justice.
And do you think that's an alliance thing coming out there? Obviously, you have freedom, and
Yeah.
a Hold Warrior doesn't. So, what are your thoughts, Six? Do you think that's viable? Is it, or, you know, are you just going to be so, or do you need that? You know, do you need that sort of control that the PvP trinket offers you to really choose when you do get that, you know, couple of seconds of movement that you otherwise wouldn't?
Yeah, definitely. For AB, it's more about like consistency, damage, and you don't really need the utility that much, because it's longer battles. It's not as much 1v1. It's more group, and you will usually have the spells and stuff like that.
So
Yeah, I think actually a big part of the reason I go for more utility trinkets is probably because I don't have freedom, so it's easier to get locked down. And I know that healers don't always have the globals to dispel you when you need, so sometimes it's really important to have that PvP trinket so you can get on the targets instantly. I mean, in some cases, even 1.5 second wait for dispel is too long.
And I'll ask this, but it's a very stupid question in my opinion. Minus speed versus stamina on boots. 2-second answer. CQ.
Speed.
Six.
Speed, of course.
Okay, question done. Weapon chain versus Crusader, something a little bit more debatable. What are you using at the moment, Tyrese, on your PvP weapon?
Weapon chain. Do I need to explain myself? Or?
Well, it mixes in with the other obvious discussion because I mean, obviously you think that being immune to disarm is absolutely crucial. I suppose the second option, if you're not using the weapon chain, is to go with stronghold gauntlets. You know, why weapon chain and I assume PvP gloves? Why that combination rather than say Crusader and stronghold?
Because I value minus rage on hamstring way more than a Crusader. Because you need to rely on Crusader when it's gonna proc, when it's not gonna proc, and in combination with Zul'Gurub Exalted Neck, it's -5 rage on hamstring. So basically you're hamstringing for 5 rage. That's like almost free, and I think it's really valuable.
And what about you, Sixt? Same combination yourself, or are you rocking something a little bit different?
No, I'm in the same boat as CQ here. The CG neck and the rank 12 gloves are such an amazing combination, and I would like to say that stronghold gloves aren't really that strong in my opinion. They have, 12 stamina and 1 crit and 1 parry, and no attack power at all, so you lose a lot of the before I used the ones from Molten Core, which have like 15 attack or 50 attack power on them, so you lose 50 attack power going Crusader, or going Weapon Chain, or Stronghold and Crusader. So you lose 50 static attack power for a 200 attack power proc, which in my opinion is never worth it, because uptime in PvP is not perfect. I mean, sometimes you only have like 1 or 2 swings on a target, so relying on a proc then I would say is pretty stupid.
And again, sort of relating it to the differences between Warsong Gulch and AB, would you again in the perfect world, if you had 1,000,001 weapons to choose from, would you ever consider maybe swapping over to using Crusader in an AB? Because obviously you talked about the importance of pressure and the extra damage, and obviously Crusader rather than a weapon chain will offer that extra damage. Would you consider maybe using or running without a weapon chain in AB and just go for the pure damage? Sixt.
I would probably never use the Stronghold gloves actually, or any other, but I might have, like if with rank 14 weapons, I would probably have like one with Crusader, one with Weapon Chain, and then switch between them for maybe AB, yeah, where disarms aren't probably going to be that big of a deal. But as far as using Stronghold, it's just not something I would do.
I would use Crusader on weapon if I had gloves from Kel'Thuzad.
Those aren't even in the game, dude.
Well, as I said, if I can get those, I would use Crusader, sure.
Yeah, of course. I mean.
Okay, explain what are the KT gloves then, for anyone that's not familiar, myself included. I'm not familiar with them off the top of my head. What do they do?
Immune to disarm, is it 2% crit? 30 strength?
Yeah, I think it's like 2% crit, 35 strength, 20 stamina, and immune to disarm. But
Yep.
They dropped on Saphiron, or was it Kel'Thuzad? But
No,
they were
Kel'Thuzad.
removed. Okay, they were removed anyway in patch 1.11 or something.
Okay, so when we complete the game, you can start using Crusader on your weapon.
No.
Yeah, but they're
it's
not in the game anymore.
Oh, damn.
It was only in the game for a very short period of time.
So basically, that's the only case I would use Crusader over Weapon Chain.
Okay, so going on to the actual PvP set itself, the rank gear. and more specifically the set bonuses that they offer. What sort of CQ, do you want to give us a rundown of what the 3 set bonuses are?
3 set bonuses are 20 stamina and 5 seconds cooldown reduced on intercept. That's something you cannot go without. It's really huge. And the 6th set is 40 attack power, if I'm not mistaken.
Certainly, I'm taking your word for it. I don't know. I'm not the vanilla warrior, but yeah. So obviously, you're saying the 5 seconds on intercept is an absolute must. What about the other 2? Do you feel they're needed, or can you mix and match and put some PvE gear in there and deal without?
Well, while I was watching the video of what's the name, the guy we were watching?
Lane time, I think it was. Oh no, wait, it was Maydai, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Maydai that was.
Yeah, there came some really cool ideas to me, because with the nerf we lost 5% crit, and as I said, crit is essential for a warrior in PvP. So I would even consider dropping 3 pieces, like let's say head. I don't know what else. I would definitely drop head for maybe Lionheart helm. Maybe even boots. No, not boots. But legs, I guess. Or no, now doesn't take legs.
Chest, I guess, for
Stupid.
Gladiator, Savage Gladiators, that's got 2% crit on it, hasn't it?
Yeah, but I don't think it's worth it. It's too much stamina loss. I guess I would just change head for Lionheart helm, but then I would have to put 100 HP on it. But I would consider dropping the Field Marshal head for Lionheart helm.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Sixt? What are what are your thoughts about the set bonuses, and what are the must-haves? What are the ones you could probably look at skipping?
I think it depends. Are we talking the 13 set here or the rank 10?
Well, if you want to, let's do both. Let's start with the 10, and then we can go for the 13 if you've got a varying opinion on them.
Yeah, actually I do, because I used a bit different before. Before I got rank 13, I used 2 pieces of, like before rank 12, I used 2 pieces of PvP set for the 40 attack bar bonus. I skipped the intercept bonus, because I could get like pretty good other stats from swapping in PvE gear. Because you got a lot more armor and basically agility, which is like dodge and crit. But with the rank 13 set, I think it's just overall the best PvP. For those slots, it's the best items available at the moment. With AQ, I would probably do 3 pieces of that set and 3 pieces of rank 13, because they have really good stats on them. The AK-40 sets, they have a lot of armor, a lot of just stats, they have a lot of agility, a lot of stamina, a lot of strength, and they also have a bit of defense, which is pretty underrated. Because if you have enough defense, your enemies will need like 2% more hit to be able to always land stuff on you, which is pretty good.
What pieces? Like head, shoulders, and chest, I guess?
Yeah, I would probably swap out those 3, probably, yeah. Definitely the chest, definitely the head, maybe boots instead of shoulders, I'm not really sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think the AK-40 shoulders have slightly less stamina than the rank 13 ones. I'm gonna look this up before.
Yeah, but they have more strength.
Before you commit to making an answer on the internet that will never go away, and you'll forever be known as the guy that got it wrong.
I don't know, I would probably go for 2 stamina over 2 strength in PvP.
Yeah, but you're forgetting. Oh well, okay, fair enough.
He's on the opposite side, man. If he's doing it wrong, let him do it.
No, I'm not gonna argue with it.
Okay, so while you're looking that up, CQ, what do you think about sort of the actual the PvP set in general? How does it sort of match up to the PvE gear? the myth I think that what a lot of people have always sort of had in their minds was that whenever a lot of the PvP gear is also a lot of the PvP sets are pretty poor for actual PvPing. Certainly, I'd say that about the preset. What are your thoughts about the Warrior PvP set? How does it actually match up to say PvE pieces when it comes to just pure PvPing? Can you just run with the PvP set and never worry about PvE gear?
Sure you can, but then you're basically a hamstring machine. Nothing else. Punching bag, you're gonna do no damage at all. With rank 10 gear, I'm talking about, of course. Are we talking about rank 10 gear
I
or
can talk about
13?
both, man. Talk about both.
Rank 10 gear is pretty poor on every single aspect except for stamina. Stamina is decent. If you don't have access to rank 13 gear and you want to PvP, but you have access to BVL gear, like get BVL pieces, it's much more valuable. Like, I don't know, Helm of Endless Rage, shoulders, flame guard gauntlets, and stuff like that. I don't know, chromatic boots. What else? I don't even know. That's more valuable if you wanna actually kill something. But if you are there just to soak up damage, to tank it up, to peel for others, sure, rank 10 gear is good. While rank 13 gear, and 12 and 13 of course, gives you both of those. It doesn't excel in one or the other, but it gives you ability to do both. So you can do both damage and tank it up.
You back with us now, Six? You found your facts?
Oh yeah, I would definitely go for the helm, chest, and boots from AK-40. And also in response to what Siki said, I would definitely agree that the rank 10 set, using all of it, I would never do. I used 2 pieces for a long time. I think I used the boots and the chest because the attack power bonus is still pretty good. You'll most likely end up with more attack power if you kept using 2 pieces instead of swapping it out for PV.
Hmm. And this I think this is a pretty sort of unique question to Six. Thunder Fury. I've spoken to you about it in the past, sort of in passing, but and you mentioned you think it certainly has a place in PvP. Do you want to sort of expand on that for people listening?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's not a bad weapon, of course. It's not something you run with all the time, but for the, like, when you swatch for sword and board, it's definitely, I think, the best weapon available. It is very strong when you're tanking melee. I mean, if you get a rogue and warrior or 2 warriors on you can just switch to it and then do whirlwind and hope you get a proc on all 3, and then you'll somewhat mitigate the damage incoming. Because it slows the attack speed of 20% versus a rogue, it doesn't do it too much, but versus a warrior with a 200, it's a pretty big deal because it disrupts their rage generation quite a lot. As for the proc itself, I have many times just swapped to Thunder Fury and Shield and then just spammed hamstring to proc it and then just killed warriors like that 1v1 with low HP. Because it's not much they can do about it really.
Hmm. Sounds good. So final question about sort of gearing it in PvP. Uh, Certainly, Six, you mentioned that you just don't have time for PvE at the moment. Everything goes into PvP. With that in mind, where does the money come from? How do you keep up with the free action potions and things of that nature? What's where do you get your money from when you're PvPing?
I don't really. I turned in some marks 1 week and I got a bit, but generally I just have some from the get-go, and then I do not use, I think, as many free action potions as people think. I use maybe 5 a day maximum, and then there's just some days I use none. What I mostly use is swiftness potions, grenades, and magic dust. And grenades, they don't cost much. Magic dust I farm myself, and swiftness pots aren't that expensive either.
What about you, Tyrese? Where does the money come from when you were ranking? Or again, did you just sort of have a bank before you started and just slowly grind through it?
Well, yeah, I have I had pretty large bank, so I had money. I farmed shitloads of herbs and stuff while on Druid and but I don't really use that much consumables in PvP. I hate faps, hate the living crap out of them. I despise them. Hate magic dust. Rarely use it. Grenades, sure, but they're really cheap, and swiftness potions are really cheap as well. So yeah, I don't really spend that much money on PvP, except when I'm respecking. But guild was fairly nice to me in my last few ranks. They allowed me to raid as arms, so I didn't have to respec 2 times every week.
Sounds good. Okay, moving on to a certainly a different topic. Let's call it that. Talking about sort of UI and more specifically the add-ons. What sort of add-ons are you guys running, or certainly what add-ons are you running, Tyrese, when it comes to sort of PvP? What's your UI looking like? And without sort of just describing it, what are the add-ons that you really enjoy, and what do you think are ones that are particularly useful maybe to a warrior?
You don't really need that much add-ons as a warrior. One add-on without I couldn't play without is definitely custom nameplates, because nameplates as a warrior is really crucial. And of course nature enemy cast bar to see the timing on my hamstring. That's basically the 2 add-ons I use. And of course other unit frames and stuff like that. But nothing special at all.
And what about you, Sixt, then? Any add-ons you couldn't do without, or are you'd go in true vanilla style without anything, or?
No, I'd never do that. I mean, as Tyre says, for function purely, I mean, I guess nature enemy cast bar is pretty important. I use spell alert myself, which I find very useful sometimes. Item rack as well is pretty big. And nameplates. I think nameplates you can use the standard ones without suffering too much. I mean, I'm using the custom ones as well, because they look pretty nice, but yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess.
And I guess trinket menu also is probably figuring certainly on your list, Sixt, thing you mentioned, or are you actually just
No,
got a million and one binds?
I go to the characters. No, I go to the character screen, and with item rack you have like alt, so you can swap gear easily. So I just hover, I do it really strange. I go to my inventory, I open the character screen and alt over the trinkets and just select from there. It's basically the same as trinket menu, but you have to open your character screen.
You see, I got flamed for doing that when I was clicking demonic runes for my bags and my priest. So yeah, you fucking noob doing shit like that. Got to all be keybound. Okay, okay then. Sort of following on from add-ons, I guess the natural thing to go on is macros. What macros are you using, Tyrese, if any, and what ones do you think are really useful for warriors?
Well, of course you're gonna have start attack macros on every single ability you have. There is a really good you need what kind of macros as well. Start attack, of course. You need a macro for switching to defensive stance and sword and board, of course. That's really big one. I don't know, just switching to abilities. I can't really say, like, I use a lot of macros, but I don't know how to explain which ones I'm using. I'm using the one that moves me to battle stance every time I have overpower. The one that when I press it automatically moves me to defensive stance to disarm. That when I click to berserker stance, it automatically swaps to my weapon to battle stance as well. When I click on defensive stance, it swaps to shield and sword. I don't know what else. Macro for sweeping strikes to move me to battle stance. I don't know. That's pretty much it.
So sort of fairly, I'd say fairly standard, but still certainly quite a few there. What about yourself, Six? Are you sort of doing the same, or are you less, more, different ones?
I think probably about the same, but mine are quite different. I have for basically I have one for mount speed. I have for just general swapping gear, shield two-hander. I have for my trinkets, boots like rocket boots, the engineering helmets, and I don't know. I have one for Berserker Rage and battles like swap to Berserker stance, but I don't really use it much. I usually do like for overpower and stuff. I just do it manually.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
yeah, it's mainly the trinket ones I use a lot.
sounds good. Sounds good. So going back to the real basics of warrior, and certainly the warriors you play. Sixt, you mentioned that when you sort of started off, you were PVing it up. What after sort of PV, where did you start with the PvP? Was it just straight into the pre-mades, or did you pug for a bit? How did you get into the PvP scene on ED as a warrior?
I pugged for a while, and then I just there were a few people in Dream State who played in CO's pre-made at the time, so I think after a while I just got like a random spot because they had an open, and then sort of after that I just eventually I got like more of a regular spot, but that was basically how I started. Just did pugs.
And what about you, Tyrese? Where did your sort of PvP career begin?
Well, as a druid, I started immediately in pre-made, but as a warrior, that's quite a funny story. As a warrior, I was in alt BVL raid, and the Anthem blade dropped, and I rolled highest, so I got it, and I just went to PvP for fun, and I was rank 0, and I could actually kill people, and basically when you're rank 0, you get much more honor for killing people. And basically on my first week I farmed 240k honor, like solo. And then pre-made was like, yo, you need to stop that, you need to this, you need to that. I was like, sure, then invite me to pre-made. And they're like, no, you don't really have that much gear. And I'm like, yeah, then I'll farm myself. But no, you need to stop, you need to this, you need to that. And then eventually they invited me to pre-made. But it was a god awful pre-made,
User
so
joined your channel.
I left, and then Team Plague made a pre-made, and we were playing then all of us, and that's basically it.
Sounds good. So good. So the moral of the story is basically, kids, if you want to do PvP, you have to be an e-thug and bully people on the internet until they let you into your pre-mates.
Yep, you need to show them who's the boss.
So for anyone that didn't hear the massive TeamSpeak thing saying user joined your channel, we have another very special guest. If you want to introduce yourself, mystery person who's just joined.
No, not really. You can give introduction as you please.
Okay, so if anyone doesn't know, this is Hiddeh, CQ's BFF and in real lover, IRL lover. Um, uh, he was originally meant to be on. We didn't know what was happening, but it's really good to have you on. I'm now going to have to skip all the way back to the very beginning. And do you want to introduce yourself, Hiddeh? Who you are, where you're from, where do you play, all that kind of shit.
Nah, not really. It's like I'm from Serbia. That's pretty much it. All you need to know, like Supreme Commander of Balkan Legions. Yeah. Well, basically, I used to play a warrior in Team Plague. Well, I had time to play, but now I'm swamped, so I sadly had to quit. I never finished my ranking, if that's important. Like I got to rank 13 and had only 3 more weeks to go, but I never found the time to finish it, which I deeply regret in some way because I don't like things undone. and that's pretty much it. I used to run my own pre-made in my last few weeks while I was getting rank 13, but till then I used to play with the previous high ranked players like Cait, Timeless, Zeal, etc. Play with Scythe, play with Street Cleaner and his Paladin, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Do you have like any special questions for me or?
No, I was just gonna. I wasn't sure whether you were gonna be here or not, so I was just gonna run you through and then gonna slide you in now, slip you in the back, and we'll just keep on going with you. And you know, if you gotta go, you gotta go. But yeah, it's good to have you on, mate, and pleased to have you here. So that's all. That worked in quite well with where we were basically at. We're just talking about where or at least where Tyrese and Sixt started with their PvP. Where did you start with your PvP on ED? What was it straight in with pre-made or did you pug for a bit? Where did you begin?
Well, I began first by just randomly playing, just trying to get some gear because I was pretty much frustrated with not having a proper two-hander, and it was really stressful because I had only one killer at the time. It was CQ on his druid. So I don't know. I pugged about till rank 7 or something, and then I joined Ellicat pre-made, but I left that as soon as they started dodging because I really don't see the point of PvP if you're gonna dodge other pre-mades. So after that, I decided that if you want to rank up, like you have to man up and just play. And that's pretty much it. Like you have to play a lot. Luckily, Team Plague provided me with all the PvE gear, so I had pretty much full best in slot gear from PvE. So my ranking was really simple. I got my silver hammer after like being 1 month in the guild, and I got that. So I finally had a decent weapon, and then it started to be like more easier because I got to know pretty much the good PvPers on ED. So yeah, we kind of just grouped up. Then some cool people started ranking up, so I just tagged along with them. At one point, we even had 5 warriors, which wasn't all that great, but it was still doable. And yeah, there were some fun games against Horde premates, which I really enjoyed. But other than that, it was just pure grind and farming bugs to oblivion.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Apparently, we have a user-submitted question from Sixt. I'm a little bit scared of what this is going to be, but do you want to go for it, mate?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think it's directed to, I think it was Tyrus initially, but I think Hiddeh could answer it as well. It's from Sirius. He wants to know how hard was the PvP grind on the Alliance side?
Well, to be honest, it wasn't really hard. It was just time consuming because we had a really good group of people, playing. So it was really easy to coordinate. Like you didn't have any dead weights. Of course, you always have some people that will slow you down, but overall the group was good. So we won most of the games against Horde Pugs. We had like super easy time. So like Horde Pugs, that's not even a competition. It's just a farm. Like we used to have like 200k per day just from Warsong Gulch. When Kai was going crazy mode, like we had 700k catch or something insane, and the highest pugger was like on 200 and 250k. So yeah, we just pretty much stomped everything. Against the pre-mades, we had some fun games when they actually brought up quality players, like uh, Showtime, like a couple of warriors, like high-ranked warriors, like high warlords and stuff. And then there was a Dream State pre-made, which was kind of decent, but there were people that were crying too much and just whispering all around, like about dust usage and stuff. Like I got some angry whispers from Beebington. I even have some screenshots. I can share it if you want, but yeah. And there was always like the internal conflict about using FAPs and shit and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Tyrese? What was your? This is actually a question that I had saved for the end for Tyrese. What was your ranking experience like?
God awful. No, I'm kidding. It was it was funny at first. It was funny with the pre-made that I was first in, with Alicat pre-made. Really funny. More funny than fun. But then I went into TP pre-made with Hiddeh and Cait and the rest of the crew, and that was just piss easy. It was only hard thing was to stay awake. We were playing from like 9 a.m., 8 a.m. until midnight, and after that, like very long. And that was just really hard mentally. And after that, when Kai was done, kinda all good PvPers stopped playing, and I was left on I was rank 11, and Hiddeh couldn't play, so I had to play without him, and all things fell apart. So we scrapped up some kind of it's not even called a pre-made, it was like just PvP people that are going for ranks.
Farm main.
So
Just call it
yeah,
farm main.
it's not even a farm made because you only farm bugs, and from pre-mades you usually lose. So it was really frustrating, really frustrating, because people from your group don't even want to try to play. They don't even want to bother. So it's really annoying. So basically that time was really hard, like 4 or 5 weeks I played. I I couldn't. I was just so close to losing my fucking sanity. And after that, I had like 2 more weeks that were. It wasn't that bad at like previous ones, but the last 2 weeks was fine because some other people joined it. It was fairly easy, but those those 4 weeks I played without TP pre-made and Hiddeh was just so awful.
I'd like to add, and there was some issues with like Dream State pre-made, like when Thrashing was trying to lead it, like after a game or two, like they would just disband and stop queuing. So I don't know, like there was no real PvP for a long time, and then there were a lot of dodging from port side as well. So we mostly faced bugs, and we like ended up in forced queue games and stuff like that. So that happened a lot. But in general, the queue system on Phoenix server is kind of broken. Like you don't have multi queue for you had it for a while though, but that got changed quickly. So yeah, I mean overall the process of getting rank 14 is just about having the right people with you and having the same mindset, just to play enough. But I will say that my last 2 weeks, till I got rank 13, like 2 weeks from 12 to 13, were really like walk in the park. I had Scythe to carry flags for me, and I had CQ as another warrior, and that was pretty much all that mattered. Like we had some guild healers and some alts and stuff like that, but it was really easy games. And at that point, like Horde had a lot of drama with their ranking up, like they
Is
had a
this
lot of
the
hard.
sneaker days? I've heard about the sneaker drama. Is that what you're referring to?
Nah, it was Cow and Yen and Clowny. I think they were fighting about who's gonna get standing one.
And
And
Naden as well.
yeah, Nathan as well. There were a lot of. I even got some whispers like, "Let's get Nathan 15 kills so he deranks and stuff like that while he was in hospital because of a liver issue or something." I don't know.
That's some
Like,
cold-blooded shit, man. Oh, Jesus Christ. Hey, fucking guys in
yeah,
the hospital.
and then I had Ned and whispering me, "What the fuck, man? Why did you want to get me deranked? Like, what did I ever do wrong to you?" and stuff like that. Which is really funny because like the story between me and Ned started all the way back since I leveled up in April. Like we were killing each other. Well, I killed him like a couple of times in burning steps while I was farming for my sulfurous hammer, the Arcanid bars. So yeah, I killed him there a couple of times. So we go all the way back. So he thought that, I supposedly wanted to get him D rank because I fucking hate him or something, which wasn't true. So yeah, but yeah, overall, the PvP on ED, it had its good sides and bad sides. I really enjoy games against a good Dream State pre-made, like with Soul carrying the flags, and they had 3 warriors, with Beast Gear, and you had Fat Lord Buyaka, getting the flag out because we had 2 rogues in defense and stuff like that. Those games were actually fun. Like I really enjoyed those 1 hour games, and to be honest, most of the games we won, but still, the games that we lost, like we got beaten up pretty bad. Like it all depends, like who gets a good start, and it was really really good. So that was like the true PvP of ED from my point of view, at least. Some people will disagree, some people would have different opinions, but you know, I really enjoyed that as like the only battleground, like that Warsong Gulch, that was actually interesting because there wasn't really any pre-made for AB. Like you never had like full pre-made, and Alterek Valley is just fucking nightmare. Like ruined all the fun. Like I had 4 hour AV, and then I just won 4 hour AV for what?
You obviously, as you said, well, as mentioned a couple of times now, you spent your first sort of week um, pugging it up quite heavily. Do is pugging certainly as a warrior as bad as it's perceived? I mean, I've always perceived it as being pretty fucking dire and one of the an absolute ball ache. What did you find it like yourself when you were pugging rather than pre-mating, and when you haven't got the support, when you haven't got the dispels and heals? Is it as bad as people say, or can you still have a good time and enjoy it?
It's god awful. It's uh, it's so fucking bad. The well, if you're trying to win the game and you're trying really hard, like to go for flags and stuff, as a pug with pugs, it's really hard because the lack of communication is the main thing here because uh, you can't really type that fast in a pugs, and some reactions need to be like dealt with immediately, and you can't really type down, yo, you need to pick up the flag when I'm gonna drop the flag when I'm on 30%, you need to pick it up and stuff like that. uh, if you're doing it for fun and you're in pugs, you're just farming mid and doing shit, you don't really care, it's fun. It's a lot of fun if you don't care if you're gonna win or lose. But if you're really trying to win, it can be really really frustrating because being mobile as a warrior is the most important thing. And if your teammates cannot provide that for you, you're gonna have a bad time. And not just you, your team as well is gonna have a bad time.
Hmm. So, sort of all of that said, again, a quick question, Sixt, what is your favorite battleground as a warrior?
Warsong Gulch, hands down.
Tyrese,
AB.
why AB? What's the reason?
Because you just kill shit in AB. Don't really care. If people need you somewhere, they will call you. You mount up, go there, kill shit, kill, loot, repeat, something like that. You don't really need to care about, yo, where is my flag? Is this flag? Do I need to click? Do I don't need to click? Is you know what I mean. It can be frustrating.
It's a bit YOLO, is it? You think it's a bit more YOLO to be an AB? To use that
Uh,
terrible
You
fucking
only
phrase.
you only YOLO once, so you need to just go with it.
Okay, so and well, Hiddeh, what's your? I know the answer. What is your favorite BG then?
It's Warsong Gulch, definitely.
You should have said Alterac Valley to be different.
No way. Fuck that place.
Nobody likes AB. AB's fucking shit.
Nah, it's just Warsong Gauntlet could be fun even if you pug, like if you have a random Chinese healer from Light of Dawn that says "I follow you" or "Come home" or stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Just a random paladin giving you freedom.
I remember that you had some random paladin following you for a few games a while back.
Yeah,
That was so strange.
it was really good. Like the guy was, working his ass off just to,
Like, see,
you
I
know,
mean, he followed you everywhere.
yeah, just wanted to keep me safe and give me freedom and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
He even followed him home. Don't tell this to anyone.
Yeah, come home. He doesn't know how to say come back to base or whatever. So he says come home. It's fucking nice.
Was he from Light of the Dawn, or
Yeah.
Of course.
they?
No, I have to agree here that I think you can still have some very enjoyable games as Pug in Warsong. I've had some pretty great games at like 4 a.m. versus, I think it was Moon Lotus, where I spent like 5 minutes chasing Moon Lotus, mostly alone in the base until I finally got him. It's pretty epic stuff.
How did you manage to get him?
Swiftest spots? I don't know. I mean, we had some puggers in the base who were, but they were pretty far behind. But then, yeah, if he doesn't have Nature's Grasp, it's not that hard to kill a druid. Just spam hamstring until they don't want to shift anymore, and then you rape them.
So we obviously we know what your favorite BG is now, but what battleground do you think sort of favors warriors the most? Where do you think warriors really find their place in the BG scene, Hiddeh?
Well, in all of them, because like your role is to create pressure in pretty much any of them. So if you can manage that, then it's really important that you have a good warrior, like for any battleground. For example, if you want to break a turtle in AV, like you send a couple of warriors and with good gear, and just sweeping strikes and cleave the shit out of it. That's how you break sieges, pretty much. In Warzone, of course, I already said in my previous statement. So the only thing is like AB, like if you can set domination on 3 bases if you're facing a pre-main, like if you can hold that blacksmith, that's the most important thing. So what you do is like you always send warriors at blacksmith, try to get control of that, and that's pretty much it. It's equally important for any BG.
What about you, Six? Do you sort of disagree? Is it all the same, or do you think there's a BG where warriors really excel? Is there such thing as too many warriors in? Well, I'd probably say there's such thing as too many warriors in Warsong. But looking at AB, or AV, are there, do those, a warrior heavy comp, are they going to do better in say AB or Warsong? What do you think?
In Warsong, I don't really think warriors. I mean, I think you need one,
User
maybe
joined your
two,
channel.
but any more than that, in my opinion, is a waste of slot. But I mean, in AB, you can easily bring 3 and 4, and 3 or 4, and it's really good because you just put them all on blacksmith basically with Wind Fury, blow shit up. But yeah, I mean, in Warsong, in Warsong, if you face a competent team, each warrior needs a lot of attention, a lot of dispels, and I mean, it's just not. You don't have the globals, you don't have the healers to really support more than 1 or 2, in my opinion.
And what about you, Tyrese?
Well, as I said, I love AB. Stick with AB. Of course, I would say that Warsong needs 2 warriors. At least in my experience, doing it with 2 warriors is the best thing with it. When I was playing with Hiddeh and the crew, 3 is okay, 4 is too much, and everything else is just too much. 1, being a solo warrior, you will get all the single CC in the world, so just you will be just as much useless as a, I don't know, fucking pet from Hunter. So having 2 warriors is Warsong Gulch is a must, in my opinion, of course. In AB, you want as much warriors as you can get, not like 10, but 3 even 4 to some extent. But and I'm not even gonna comment on AV. Yeah,
doesn't
but
doesn't warrant your time.
it's not worth my time. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, you gotta say it's super fun when you charge into fucking 30 people and you have 5 healers on your ass and you just pop practiceness, sweeping strikes, and just go whirlwind berserk on their ass. You gotta say that's fun.
Sure, if your people follow you through.
Well,
I think I would need to flask to survive that, to be honest.
Yeah, and you'll get every single hit from every single idiot in
well,
that heavy.
you will die definitely, but for those couple of seconds,
You just hope for enrage and just
it's pretty fucking awesome.
It's the warrior gasm, is it? A couple of seconds of pure joy, and then you've got to get rid of the bitch afterwards because she's still in your bed.
Well, you have like records of Azuragus shit that happened, and that's even worse than 40-40 BG. Like you had like what 100 horde. And,
Yeah, 120 I think was the biggest we ever had from Horde side. Those were some pretty fucking epic days.
So yeah, that's super fun charging in and just cleaving around. That's fun.
Fuck them up. Um, so talking about yeah, charging and things like that. Sort of in a more constructed environment. We start with Orson Gulch. What are the sort of targets that you really want to be looking for as a warrior Sixt in a Orson Gulch environment?
I don't know, we cheese it a lot in our premium then, because we run with elemental shamans and warlocks almost always. We just basically wait the warriors out and then all get on them at once. And they never survive. But yeah, I mean, anything, I'm not really too picky. I mean, except hunters and mages, I don't like to go for those, but anything else is fair game. Like, it's all about where they're positioned, and in some fights you really need to get on a warlock to stop him from free casting, or he's just gonna destroy your team.
Hmm. And what about you, Tyrese? Have you got sort of I don't know, a mental list of your top 2 classes that you want to be going for? Or do you really think it is just down to where people are at the time and the time and the place?
I have different approach.
The
Sometimes,
priest.
well, yeah, but the thing is sometimes it's not the classes, but the players that need attention. Like I respect some players and they require more attention than the others. In the other way, there is when we're talking about classes, of course, when we're playing Premier vs Premade, if someone is out of position, of course you will go for him. But in a perfect world, I would like to go, I think, on a Warlock or a Shaman even. The thing is that you need to realize that the more pressure you create, the more panic is gonna create in the other team. So the more you push in, the other team will have to react. So it's all about creating a chaos. That's the basic definition of war. You create a chaos, make other team like panic, and choosing a couple of targets. I've sometimes looked when if there are 2 targets near, so I can charge in sweeping strike and create just simply create a pressure and create a chaos. That's the most more important thing you can do.
Hmm. And what about you, Hiddeh? Same approach yourself? Obviously, you spent a lot of time playing with Tyrese. Are you the same mind, or do you have something sort of different when you're looking at the start of a Warsong match?
Well, of course, you always go for people out of position. I mean, that's really obvious. Like, if someone is in a bad spot and you can kill them, you go for it. But in general, as CQ said, like, you have some people that have higher skill than others, so you would definitely want to put pressure on them. But then, on the other hand, it's pretty much like, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but you have the same mindset. Like me and CQ, we always charge the same target. We always, do stuff together. So let's say I'm on some random guy like Warlock or whatever, and then you see a priest and he doesn't have a shield up, and then you see like there's subs on the same priest at the same time. Of course, you coordinate that on your voice com, but sometimes it happens just even without talking. Like you know that guy's is gonna die, and you just swap and that guy dies. But generally, I think the most important is to go on shaman or a priest because you can CC the warlocks. Like you can banish their pets. Like you can limit their potential. But if you have a priest recasting, then that's not good. Like you have shield all around. You have big heals. And Shaman is just all around annoying. Like if you don't stop Shaman, he can just purge entire set of buffs that you have, and then you're pretty much naked, and you're easy target because you're in the middle of all that, and they can just swap to you, and you can die. So I would say definitely you need to put your own Shaman or a priest.
Hmm.
That would be my target of choice, and of course you will force your team to CC the hunters because hunters are really fucking vicious in vanilla with their stings, especially as alliance. Like you don't have much tools to remove poisons. You only have druid, so
Balance as well, man.
that's
They can
pretty much it.
cleanse. They just don't.
It's really simple.
Um, yeah. Coming back to you, Sixt. Obviously, I guess you're sort of fresher on the scene, as it were. The other two have obviously been taking a break, and you mentioned that at the moment you guys are very heavily into sort of focusing warriors, and it's something Carly mentioned and Sushi actually last week in the Warlock interview. You guys are really into blowing up warriors. Um, is what sort of has brought that about? Is it just the comp you're running, or is it the guys you're playing against, or is it just a shift in the meta itself in Warsong? You guys have just sort of seen that as an opportunity. Uh, what started that kind of that switch? Because it's certainly not something that I can remember happening myself when I was playing Priest.
I think it started because we played against a couple of people who would always charge in and overextend way behind their healers. So we just always took them out first, and then we usually run with at least one or two warlocks and usually also one or two elemental shamans. And if you get the moral strike up on a warrior, it's very unlikely that they will live through that burst if you coordinated it properly. So we just found it to be a pretty viable strategy because as a warrior, even myself, it's very easy to overextend because you want to go for that clothy or whatever.
Hmm.
So it's sort of you just exploit their mistake really and take it to a new level.
So going on from that, I myself played Warrior heavily during TBC, and one of the big sort of discussions and problems I guess a lot of Warriors talked about in TBC in Arena was Berserker stance basically not being worth it in people's eyes. The 10% extra damage for 3% crit. And you obviously now talking about blowing up Warriors. Tyrese, what are your thoughts about that sort of exchange that you make when you swap into Berserker stance? Obviously you gain Whirlwind and Pummel for it, but and Intercept, but the sort of the 10% extra damage. Do you think about that when you're in Berserker stance? Are you aware of the damage that you may be that may be coming your way, or are you just gonna you're in Berserker stance, you're just gonna fuck someone up and bugger to the damage that's coming? If you are in the stance.
It's it's a lot more different if we're talking about arena and a battleground. In arena, you only have one life, and that's it. But in battleground, if you can go in and cleave like one, two, kill two persons, and you die, still worth it. You get number advantage in the middle, and of course I'm talking about Warzone, not even AB as well. And it's all about numbers in the end. It's of course crowd control as well, but we're not gonna talk about that. We don't know what crowd control warriors. So basically, I think it's worth it. Taking an extra damage and being there to create a pressure, to create a chaos. But if you see that you can't kill someone and you need to fall back, of course you're gonna swap to defensive stance, sword and board, and move back move to get heals, get in a better position, start the fight, reset, start the fight again.
What about you, Hiddeh? Again, sort of, do you think it's worth it, or is it going to be, do you need to be careful when you are sort of rambling around going for kills on people?
Well, it depends on the momentum. Like if you're pushing in and the other team is reacting to that, then you're doing something good, and you can stay in berserker stance because you can see like if the incoming damage is going to be too high. Of course, unless you meet some sick gear warlock that can just two-shot you, but that happens. I died so many times just pop wreck and then I skip critical for 4K. But sometimes that happens. But usually, like if you see that you're not putting enough pressure, then you should just go back to defensive stance and just hold back.
Mm-hmm. And Sixt, earlier on we were talking about warrior flag carriers and the sort of the comment that was made, yeah, you can carry a flag every 30 minutes. How often, going off the idea, sort of obviously taking extra damage when you're popping wreck, you are going to be taking another 10%, isn't it, if I remember correctly? It's everything crits an extra 10% damage.
No, it's 20.
20%, okay. Do you find it even? Do you use it? Is it safe to use, or is it with these sort of caster cleaves as the phrase was coined previously, and the focusing on warriors? Are you using rec at all, or is it just purely shield wall and carrying it and saving the 30-minute cooldown for that?
Well, I mean, I forget to use it a lot, but if I use it, it's almost always in 1v1 versus flag carrying. Sometimes if we really need to get a flag back, I'll just pop a FAP and wreck. But I never use it in mid-fight. Never.
It's just too dangerous, you think, and just not worth it.
I think it's a waste, like just a straight up waste.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're gonna kill stuff anyway, and it's not worth it to go down there.
Okay, so a final question before we take a 10-minute break, because I really need a piss. I do apologise. I don't know about you guys, and I'll probably grab a drink as well. But and again, sort of final question when it comes to stances. Another sort of quick fire one. What stance do you guys idle in? When you're running around the battlegrounds. Tyrese, I've spoken to this about before, so we start with you. What's the sort of stance that you idle in, and why?
It's always berserker. It's always gonna be berserker because of reckless dodge, because of sap. It made me so many times I regret why was I in battle stance. So I'm not making that mistakes again. Even when I'm in Ironforge, I'm in berserker stance always.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Sixt? Do you think it's is it a little bit risky to sit in that berserker stance? Do you think in a war song with if you've got rogues ready to open you, if you've got this sort of the caster cleaves coming for you, or is it is the CC possibilities just not worth it? Have you got time to swap stance if you think the damage is going to be coming? What's your thoughts on what do you idle in?
I'm always in berserker stance. I think that if you do get cheap shotted out of position, I don't think the 10% less damage taken is going to save you. Because the numbers are just so high. If you have a warlock, it doesn't matter what stance you're in, they're going to two-shot you. Or they can.
Mm-hmm. And finally, Pid, what's your stance of choice then for the idol?
Oh, well, definitely berserker. Like you don't know if you're gonna get sapped, so yeah. Sometimes you get even feared, like dead coiled into fear, and if you're not in berserker stance, then you're screwed.
Okay, sounds good. Right, as I said, guys, we're going to take a 10-minute break. I'm going to grab a drink and go for a slash. So if we say 10 past 10, game time, if you want to, or pop back if that's okay. And in the meantime, I'll play a bit of music, and yeah, I'd say grab a drink, freshen up, do whatever you need to do, and yeah, we'll reconvene in 10 minutes.
Gonna mute TeamSpeak?
I will mute it, yeah, and I just have some music running in the background on stream.
Okay.
So you can call me a fucking nigger or whatever you want to do, and all that
yes,
shit.
I wanna do that.
Okay. Right.
Fucking nigga.
Okay, I'll speak to you guys in 10 minutes. Thanks for listening so far, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed it. We'll be right back. And serious, fuck you, whether you don't like the music. I don't care. You've got no fucking taste in music anyway. Okay, thanks, guys. Back in 10.
Supposed to do. I gotta say, desperate, 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 desperate. I might abuse. Have you blown a fuse?
Microphone
I,
activated.
I can.
It's
vouch for
unmuted.
that. All right.
I've jumped you, sorry.
It's
Please
okay.
don't do that ever again.
No, but we had worse queues when that
Shit.
pre-made was going on. Like really worse queues. Like sometimes even 45 minutes to an hour for a fucking Warzone Gulch game. It got better once Kao, Yen, Clowny, and some other people started ranking Moros. So yeah, when they started ranking, there were a lot more hordes, and some people finished on alliance. So then tables turned, and we had instant queues.
That was the fun week when we had Zeal, Taiko, you, me, and who else was a warrior?
9 was the 5th one. He was
We
going
had
for
5 warriors.
9 was going for standing 4 or 5 or something like that. I don't know. He was supposed to get rank 12 with it. So yeah, we had 5 warriors at that week.
Imagine that, Sixt. 5 warriors. All need dispel. So yeah.
Why don't you just kick a few? I mean, type it. Oh, when it's not muted.
Oh, is that gonna be some shots fired in Taiko's direction right there?
That was gonna be some shots fired, but yeah.
You said it now, mate. You might as well finish. Everyone's gonna be wondering what you think of Taiko now. Even I am.
Nah, I don't think Tycho's that bad, but I think you could probably do without mine or something.
No,
Oh, but the thing is, people had already, trying to snipe standings and shit, and it created panic. So deals were made, and people were kind of added to the pre-made that shouldn't have. But
But yeah, I kind of know what you're on about. Actually, I'm kind of in the same boat, but yeah.
so
The deals were made.
well, yeah, like you gotta call it what
It
is.
sounds funny. It sounds funny though.
shady motherfuckers, the lot of you.
Going
Yep,
about
pretty much.
preserving standings like that.
Well, let's be honest, it's a fucking grueling process of getting rank 14. Like, if you want to do it, like, you have to make it easier in every fucking corner that you can, cut corners every place that you can get. Like, just get, easiest path that you can, and just fucking, get over with it. It's fucking annoying, man. It's just a grind, mindless grind. You know, I was just gonna say quickly about Kai. Like 1 week, he just kind of snapped and just turned all of his marks in and just with the shit. It does that to people. Like it gets you to the boiling point. Eventually, if you can't really control yourself, then it's really hard. Like it's just a mind game.
Ranking always reminds me of I don't know if you guys have in your country, but a British television show called Big Brother, where they basically get they create this artificial, really stressful environment and put a shitload of people in it, and then obviously all shit goes fucking hell goes. It's just crazy because they live in this house together for X number of weeks or whatever. They don't see anybody else, and it's just creating an extremely stressful environment and putting people in it. And obviously, when you put people in a pressured environment like that, shit's gonna go down. And ranking always reminds me of that kind of situation. You're artificially creating an incredibly pressured environment where you are basically competing with the people that you have to play with. And whenever you do something that, like, when you do that to a human being, it's going to get nasty at some point. Something's going to happen. Something's going to get said, and people are always just going to be tired, on edge, and shit like that. And yeah, as a result, you get the you get the ED PvP forums, and you get the drama, which much like the television show is fun to sit on the outside and watch, but isn't necessarily particularly pleasant to live.
It happened to us as well, even to team players. We often said some bad shit to each other in a heated game.
Yeah,
And
Dream Dragon.
regret after.
Yeah, Dream Dragon still fucking. I don't think he really likes me. Even having spoken to him yesterday, yeah, he didn't like some of the things I've said to him in the past. But anyway, I think everyone's here. So we will continue. I hope did you guys even take a break, or was it just me that needed a piss?
You're the one with
No,
the low bladder.
I'm in a fucking pre-made game without TeamSpeak. It's ridiculous.
Oh damn! Should be should well. I appreciate your dedication, Six, to the interview, and yeah, I hope you lose.
Fuck you.
Okay. Back to wonderful questions. Let's talk about some actual some WoW mechanics here. You mentioned I think mentioned or before both hamstring and pissing how in passing and some of the well each of you seem to have your own sort of preference as to whether you preferred pissing howl or hamstring. Um, Going off of the premises that you have got the -5 rage from the ZG neck and the PvP gloves. Purely just if you had to use one for the rest of your life, what would it be, Hiddeh?
Gloves, definitely.
Well, no, I mean the skill, pissing howl
Oh, okay,
or
okay.
hamstring.
Yeah, I would use hamstring. Pressing Howl was useful, but I would definitely use hamstring. The thing is, if it if it was ideal, like if you could charge and then hamstring someone while he's still mounted, or you know that delay kind of fucks you up. So sometimes you just have to use Piercing Howl because like, the guy runs away from you while you're still charging, which shouldn't happen. So I don't know. It's kind of tough question, but I would still keep hamstring. Hamstring is pretty much more reliable. Once you sit on someone, then there's no running away.
Yep.
So you're talking about the charge desync that you basically get when you charge someone and they're still 10 feet away from you when you actually get to them.
Well,
It happens when you charge orcs.
They just resist,
no,
mate.
no, but in general, like if you charge and you don't have like you shouldn't be stunning them, and while you're charging, like it shouldn't be like 2 seconds travel time or whatever. It should be like 1 second or whatever. It's just sometimes it's way too long. I don't know why is it, but it is. And then you just you don't have range to use any melee ability, so you have to use piercing howl. So I don't know. It's a tricky question, but as I said, I would still try to stay with hamstring. In ideal conditions, hamstring would be much better for that at least.
What about you, Tyrese? What are your thoughts?
Well, do you have improved hamstring talent or not?
Well, if you spec for it, I could, yeah, I'd probably say you'd have it. It's up to you, do you spec for improved hamstring? How do you rate it? Do you 3-3 it, 2-3 it? What do you do?
Two out of three. Well, basically, the thing is that I value greatly is the duration. Hamstring duration is much longer than a piercing hole. Of course, piercing hole is AoE, but it's situational. I can't really choose.
Decisions.
I don't know. I guess hamstring.
And then what about you, Sixt? Are you gonna be you gonna sit there with the hamstring crew, or are you gonna be a rebel and go for pissing hell?
User joined your
Sorry
channel.
if I could only use one.
Yeah, let's say you've only got a.
I had to sort of focus a bit on the game.
Did you lose?
No, it's 1-1 at the moment.
Damn. But yes, if you had to use one for the rest of your life, pissing hell or hamstring, which would it be?
Probably piercing owl. I don't know. Piercing owl is more of a clutch spell, I would say. You can have a rogue for crippling or a mage for perma slow, but piercing owl is just in some situations there is just no replacement. Shit.
And again, we have another individual joining the conversation. For anyone that doesn't know this, we've just been joined by Dragonmil, the Tauren warrior, streamer extraordinaire, whatever you want to call him. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Hello, people. Sup?
Hi.
Hello.
we give Sixt his 10 minutes to quickly lose because he's shit at Warsong Gulch and Alliance P made rocks, obviously. And we quickly talk to Dragonmil. We'll go back to what we did with everybody else. Dragon,
sure.
if you just want to sort of, I don't know, introduce yourself for want of a better word, anybody that doesn't know you, a little bit about who you are, if you want to say where you're from, who do you play with, do you raid, do you PV, what guild you're in, all that kind of bullshit that, 30 seconds about yourself, go.
Yeah, I'm Dragonmil, and I'm a player on North side. I'm a Tauren warrior. For a living, I stream Emerald Dream and other games, and that's pretty much what I do. I play both PvE and PvP. Trying to get more time to PvP right now, but finding it quite hard since I'm working in real life 5 days a week, and I have a girlfriend, and yeah, that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I'm just a normal guy from Sweden, and trying to make a living from gaming. But yeah, I'm starting out small on Emerald Dream and hoping to see what the future brings. So to speak. Looking forward to bigger games, and yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to say more than this. So yeah.
It's a good start, man. I think that was just as good as well. It was better. It was just as good as anybody else's, I think.
Cool.
So don't worry about that. I don't want to pick on you too much, but you are the fresh meat on the stream. So we have got unanswered questions, obviously. And I think the first one that springs to my mind is obviously you play a Tauren warrior. Why Tauren? What was the thought process behind that, as versus to say any of the other three races you could have picked?
When I heard about the Emerald Dream, I always wanted to play a vanilla server, which has no donations, and it's legit, if you ask me, and it's one rate. So I thought, why not go nostalgic, like real big, and play what I played back then in 2005. So I played a Tauren warrior. I was actually 11 years old when I started playing, because now I'm 20, and yeah, I just picked the race, which I found most cool, basically, and I like the style of playing a warrior. So yeah, there I was with my Tauren with horns and fur and shit like that, and I just rolled. I played the game. I was a big noob back then. Didn't know much English, just the basics, and I just played. Had a good time. So I was PvPing a lot.
Mhm. And on the PvP side, obviously, as a Tauren, you get your 5% extra health. How are you finding Warstomp in PvP? Are you using it every time you got it up, or is it a very sort of situational thing that you find you don't often get much use out of?
I'm sorry, man, but can you come again, please?
Sorry.
Something about Warstomp.
Yeah. How are you finding Warstomp in PvP? Are you finding it a very useful ability, or are you just sort of not using it that much? Sixt mentioned his orc ratio. He doesn't really use that much because of the minus healing debuff. What are your thoughts about Warstomp in PvP?
I think it's a pretty good way to get time to use a specific ability. For example, maybe I want to stop a specific enemy of what he's doing, and maybe apply a hamstring or something like that. Like I can't really, get him into my range of melee, and then I use my War Stomp, and I can just go that extra step and apply it. Or the most efficient way of using it in PvP is versus costers. So when they are costing, when they are pretty low, I use War Stomp, and I might get that killing blow, so to speak.
Mhm.
So I think it's pretty. I mean, I think it's most efficient to use against the casters and get that extra hit or that extra second.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, so one final question directly at you before we bring everybody else together. It's a really simple one, don't worry. What's your favorite battleground, mate, and why? What do you enjoy the most?
Oh damn. um, hmm. I have always had a special relationship with Alterac Wale, since it the player base of the battleground is huge. It's for the people on each faction, and it can scale onto large battles with a lot of players, and I think that's pretty epic. But also, I feel like at some points that I can go solo and really make a difference. Like, for example, assaulting a bunker in Baldar or something, when everybody else is maybe in the middle or in the south, and then I feel like, okay.
User in your channel timed out.
Is that me whipping?
Nope.
Who
I think
ripped?
Dragonmil got wrecked.
Okay, Dragon's Mill and it got wrecked. Okay. We're waiting to when he gets back. If he doesn't come back, thank you very much for coming on, Dragonmil. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so talking about we mentioned hamstring and hamstring and piercing hell, and I'm getting fucking ganked by Showtime. It's all good. Going on to I think probably one of the more challenging aspects of WoW, and that's pummel. Hiddeh, you mentioned yourself that you know in sort of your 1 to 5 bindings you wouldn't even bother putting pummel on. You know, how do you rate it as an interrupt, say, compared to obviously counter spell lock? You know, even something like scatter shot. You know, how do you find it, and what do you think of it?
Well, it's definitely a good tool to have. So you know, it's not like I'm not appreciating that I have an interrupt, but you know, it's conditional, and you know, it requires a global cooldown before you can use it. So you know, it's not that it's not reliable. It's pretty reliable. It's just that you have other ways, you know, doing the same thing. Like if you can intercept, you can do the same thing. If you can fear, you can do the same thing. Like get the same effect. So that's why I didn't value it that high. But obviously, you know, it helps. Like if you know when to interrupt, like a priest or a shaman, like you can kill them solo. So you know that helps.
Hmm.
And it's easy. It's easy sometimes. You know, if people that you play against, if they're like, you know, well, let's say skilled, they can easily fake cast. You know, and then if they're good at it, like they will wait until they get low and then they will fake cast you. You know, and then you know it's pretty much useless. Well, I had some duels against you and your priests. You know, if I can just you know get you to half HP, if I can burn that shield, then I will kill you and intercept. So you know, I don't really need a pummel for that. I mean, you tested it. I mean, you felt it on your skin. So yeah, you
Yeah,
tested like
I'd certainly agree that the
User
sort of
joined your channel.
the survivability that you have
Hello?
and the problems, you know, if you don't get a pummel off on your first fake cast, the honest chance of you getting, you know, a second chance of faking it, you know, you're probably just gonna die if you don't do it at that point. So yeah, I'd certainly agree that it's not as good as it's necessarily cracked up to be, or certainly as powerful. Well, also fake casting isn't as powerful. Tyrese, what are your thoughts about pummel? Obviously, you mentioned it in your 1 to 5, you know, rather than fear. How do you feel about it as an interrupt?
It's the thing is, ED is not such a big community, and basically you know pretty much every single player and how they play, and if you need to pummel them and if they're gonna fake cast you or not. I rate it quite high because obviously so many times happened that priest is running next to flag carrier and you're on flag carrier and he's casting heal, you just swap pummel back on a flag carrier. I think it's a highly valuable spell that a lot of warriors just forget about it. I mean, don't use it at all. Obviously, some of them can't use it because of latency, and that's the thing. You need to have a like perfect latency for it. You can fuck it up.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Sixt? How do you sort of find pummel on the, I guess, the usefulness level?
Well, it's an interrupt, so it's very useful, but it's also, I mean, sometimes it's you don't really bother with it because it's on global, etc.
Mm-hmm. And it being on a global, do you know, obviously, it goes without saying that that's problematic for to use it, particularly, against things like flash heal or flash of light. Um, do you, if a priest is using flash heal and you're on them, do you go for the pummel and risk, missing it because of a GCD, or just go for it?
No, I try to, I just make sure I keep Mold Strike up and then I go focus on pummel. Like I'll keep Mold Strike up and then I won't use any more globals and just interrupt the cast.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Terry? Sort of same question. It being on global cooldown, how do you deal with that as being, your main interrupt, or one of your interrupts?
You never go for the first flash because most of the time you have global cooldown. But if you want to interrupt, you just auto attack him until he starts casting. Your safest bet is to start to interrupt as soon as he starts casting. I think that's the safest bet, I guess. Because a lot of times I hear the warriors like, yeah, it's so hard to interrupt, blah blah blah, because it's pummel is on global cooldown, and a lot of them have like pummel like queued right after global cooldown counts and then just biff it completely. So how I deal with it is just let first cast go through always, and then wait for him on the next cast.
And Hid, what anything to add? Any thoughts? Any technique that you find useful when dealing with fake casts and pummel on GCD, or are you, as you sort of explained earlier, do you just fuck it and just kill people?
Well, it all depends. Like if you have Mortal Strike on your target and if he's healing himself, then obviously, it doesn't really matter that much even if you miss it. As I said, it's really situational. But of course, having it interrupted, it's really important to have. Like if you can lock down some important cast when FC is about to die, and you swap to healer. As CQ said, people usually run next to the flag carrier, and happens a lot. So it's good to have it, even if it's a flash kill. Like if you see the situation for it, and you just have to go for it, even if you face cast. I mean, myself, I missed fuckloads of interrupts, but it all depends on your reaction. So as I said, situational too.
Mm-hmm.
And the warrior damage is like really insane in vanilla. Like you can literally two-shot people. So from my point of view, it's not that important, but yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And we sort of touched on we've touched on it from time to time. Have my fucking thing ripped? I'm still here. No, I'm not fucking here. Fuck my life.
Connection lost. Connected.
Rip Q.
Yeah, reap. Fucking 2 more weeks, and then it will never happen again.
Right.
Yeah, I say that. Yeah, fucking UK internet's for the win. So we've touched on it a couple of times, just talking sort of like by the by and through the course of the interviews. But let's talk about it a little bit more in depth. Classic Wind Fury versus Freedom, and or to a lesser extent Paladins versus Shamans, with sort of emphasis on the warriors, the warrior aspect of the classes. Um, Straight up, given the choice, would you rather have Wind Fury or Freedom, Sixt?
Freedom.
Tyrese?
Freedom.
I guess you have to
Hiddeh?
transfer then, bro.
Freedom, obviously.
Okay. Why the freedom love then, Sixt? Why the freedom? What's making the difference between that and Winfrey?
Because freedom is just straight up useful in a lot of cases, and it's not really. I mean, it's gonna be up a lot more because it has pretty short cooldown. It's not. You don't need to stay within a certain range. It's extremely good in Warsaw Gulch if people don't have the ability to spell. It's just overall too good.
Too good, is it? Okay. So I guess obviously you're talking about the mobility it offers as being key. So my question to you then is, obviously when we talked about set bonuses earlier, you didn't seem too keen on the 4 set bonus and the PvP set of reduced CD on intercept. Why the love for the freedom, but not so much love for the intercept? Am I lagging, or did I just ask a hard question? I can't tell. Sorry.
No, you're not like.
Yeah, like a bit. Yeah, I mean, 5 second less on a 20-second cooldown or 30-second cooldown, even with considering the fact that I mean, a lot of the like initial PvP set pieces are really bad. I wouldn't say it's totally worth it, but freedom is just. It's not about only like reducing a cooldown. I mean, freedom is just. I mean, you get to run free for 20 seconds unless you get stunned. It's just, I don't know, it's very strong for Warsong, it's very good for the team. I mean, having a druid get away with freedom is something that's happened a lot of times.
Nope, sounds good, man. And Wind Fury. I mean, Hiddeh, if you did, if you were Horde and you were using Wind Fury, do you think that would affect the way you built your character or the way you played at all, or would it just be, is it just a happy coincidence if you happen to have a turn down?
Well, I would prefer to have it. Like, I can always fap, you know, and get my freedom, so to speak. So Wind Fury is definitely useful for as a tool to have. So I don't know, like I would rather go X, to get 5% more crit than swords, as most warriors on Alliance side go. Like they go for swords because of the sword spec, and they use Hand of Justice. But as a horde, like I would rather go for X and much more crit. And then when you get like that Wind Fury proc, well, you will literally shit on someone.
Mm-hmm. And do you think, this is aimed at Tyrese, do you think it would make a difference between what battleground you were in, AB or Warsong? Because obviously in Warsong, it's more dynamic. There's more movement. You are training people, whereas obviously in AB, you're centralized around a single geographic position. You're just beating the shit out of each other. Do you think, does Wind Fury maybe take a little bit of a boost in that situation when when it's not so much about moving, it's just about how much damage you can put out?
Well, of course, Wind Fury has its good sides in AB. I don't think that much in Wars and Gods. Well, we basically already talked about this, but I don't know. In PvP, Wind Fury is not much big of a deal when we're playing pre-made versus pre-made, because people will pay attention for that totem, and as we said earlier, of course, Shaman will prioritize grounding over Wind Fury always. So that's kind of the case.
Mm-hmm. And then sort of going sort of it's a question asked by a viewer earlier on, but we'll link it in now. Just talking about sort of support classes in general. It's we asked the warlocks and I believe if I remember correctly they all loved I think it was paladins. But if we look at the sort of three healing slash support classes, priest, paladin, and shaman, what are the ones that you guys, if you had to choose one, what do you think offers sort of the most to a warrior? Sixt.
Paladin.
What, just
Totally.
freedom or
Yeah, freedom. They can bubble out of any CC and get like 10 seconds of free casting. They got cleanse, which is like the best defensive dispel in the game. Blessing of Kings is really strong if it doesn't get dispelled. There's just a lot of reasons the Paladin really does excel.
And what about you, Tyrese? If you had if you won support class,
I value priest far more better than a paladin, just because paladins never give me freedom. Yes, you street cleaner, and no, I'm joking, but no, I'm not joking. He never gives me freedom. But the thing is, I really value, and most of the priests really don't see it as a big deal. It's the offensive dispel. When you're on a target, on a mage, on a flag carrier, and dispelling those hots and shields, making vulnerable to your melee and every single damage you do. So you will kill targets easily. Sure, you might be in some crowd control, your priest might get crowd control, but again, everything has ups and downs, so I would prefer priest over a paladin. I'm not even gonna talk about the shaman, they're useless.
well, I'll ask say something about shamans actually that sort of came to my mind when you were talking about that. Obviously, Tyrese is quite sort of focused on the problems of offensive dispels. Is that something you're finding yourself on Horde side, or do you find because of Purge, or just because of the priests you're playing with, offensive dispels really aren't a problem for you?
I mean, of course they're good, but I thought the question was like straight support class.
It is. I've gone on a tangent. I got off on a tangent. Don't worry. I'm not there. I'm not asking you that.
I mean, of course you need priests. I mean, you need the offensive dispel. That's not even a question. But as a pure support class, just for like enabling the warrior, I think still the paladin is better. Because the priest, they need to spend a lot of globals just dispelling, and then they can't heal. Paladins just put freedom and then start healing.
Mhm. And what about you, Tyrese? What's your favored support class?
I think it was.
Did I say Tyrese? Yeah, Hiddeh, sorry, man. You guys are so fucking alike. Blah, bugger, I can't talk
What
English.
do you mean alike? I'm just a person who tries to be like Hiddeh. I'll never be Hiddeh.
Oh, so much emo in that sentence.
Could you? Okay, let's go.
I would say that best synergy you have Paladin because of the spells and the mobility that you get by Paladin. So, if you're free to move around, then you can create pressure, which is like your role in any BG. But if you're just going like on full offensive, then I would say Shaman is the best because of Purge and Frost Shock. Like you can keep your target slow, so you don't even have to use your rage to slow your target down. Because often, like if you're chasing a druid or something, they will just shift, and it's fucking annoying to apply hamstring. Then you pretty much don't do any damage. But if you have a shaman, then you can purge all of the shit on your target, and that's you have Wind Fury on him, and then you have Frost Shock on your target all the time. So I would say that for offensive support, it has to be shaman. For defensive support or mobility, like it's definitely paladin. And not to diminish priests. Priests are great. Like they have really good utilities as well. But the thing is, paladin can remove any kind of CC on him, while priest can't. So I would have to rate paladin higher than priest.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So, well, going going off of that, this was again a submitted question. I'd like to point out this was not asked by me. It was asked by somebody else. Who is your favorite support player on the server? Actual player name. The guys you played with. Who's your favorite support player that you've played with, and why? Start with you, Hiddeh, seeing as you were last before. When an
Well,
actual name, apparently, a name is asked for in the question.
definitely Town Raider. Like I just have really good synergy.
Rapist.
I really have good synergy with him, and he's like he played a warrior before, so he knows like what I need to do and when I need to do it. So I get the spells on time, I get shields on time. When I go defensive, like it's just like the way of thinking. Like we have pretty much same way of thinking, so he knows what I'm going to do without even me needing to telling him what I'm going to do. So that's why definitely Town Raider.
You mean Town Rapist? He's got his name changed, Batman.
Oh really?
Yeah, it was a happy day.
Oh okay, then yeah, Town Rapist, definitely.
Yeah, it's Town Rapist now.
And what about you then, Sixt? Who's your BFF when it comes to support players on Horde side?
I have to name one.
Yes, you've got to choose one. That was the question I was asked.
Oh,
Gonna make some haters here. I already hate Hiddeh for
yeah,
not saying me,
that's,
man. Don't worry.
That's pretty tough choice. I don't know. I would probably go with Morris because I think I played with him the most. But yeah, it's a tough call, definitely. There's
Okay.
a lot of really excellent support people I've played with during my time.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And then finally, Tyrese, who's your BFF?
Does it have to be a healer?
No. If you feel somebody else supports you better, then go with the question. I can't remember the exact question. I wrote it down. Yeah. Who's your favorite support class / player? So it can be anybody.
Well, it's definitely Kai when he is not carrying the flag. But if I say my best dispeller and support like that, I mean Kai as a crowd controller, I think he's one of. I think he's the best crowd controller. But if when it comes to dispels and shit like that, True Strike.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I like it. Get a nice mix. No love for the shamans though. No love for the shamans. Okay. Sorry, go for it, mate.
Never played with the shaman. I mean, like, give shamans, then you know.
My
Logic question, right? Like, some people would get offended. Like, there's a lot of great players. Like, it's really hard to choose. Hard to choose.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not easy.
I don't like my other people that I play with.
You really don't.
Well, I don't like you, so.
Okay, back to a bit more of the nitty gritty, I guess, of the class. When my fucking internet, fuck my internet, fuck my fucking internet.
Connected.
Una más.
Oh, there we go.
I think that should be done.
Where did you go?
I visited your favorite country, Africa.
Wow.
Yep.
Flesh
So-
royal flesh.
Well, this is
So big.
How much did you get?
I think I'm in. Have I caught up now to everybody?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe. Who fucking knows? Okay, we'll try and we'll go from here. We are fortunately close to the end, and at the very least, the VOD would not. I can edit all this shit out, so it will look fucking terrible. I do apologize to the stream for having a fucking internet connection that keeps on DCing me. It's fast enough. It's just not stable. It will be fixed in a few weeks. Okay, so let's talk about Tyrese's favorite country, Africa. Um, uh, do you wanna explain why what is it about Africa that you love so much? Is it starving babies? Do you just want to help third world countries? Why do you like going to Africa so much?
The weather there is awesome.
The weather.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for anyone that is not familiar with the term and therefore the joke, one of my favorite phrases to use in PvP with regards to warriors, particularly warriors, it can refer to anybody, particularly warriors when they overextend, as we talked about earlier, is we say, if rather than saying CQ is, really far away around this corner, blah blah blah, and actually spending time to describe the fact that he's just nowhere to be seen, you just say he's in Africa, basically. Um, it, I believe it was a term originally coined by American arena players because obviously the furthest away place from America is Africa, and yeah, so we use that term, and CQ is quite popular of visiting Africa when playing.
Yep.
Obviously, do you want to sort of explain your thought processes when you commit to a play like that? Obviously, it could be an overextension, but it also could be that one a balls to the wall play that gets the kill that you kind of really wanted. What are your thoughts behind it?
Well, basically, the Africa term, it's pretty much tunnel visioning, but it's not always tunnel vision. Of course, sometimes it is. It's just I don't think when I play. When it's long hours of PvP, it just hurts my brain and stuff. I don't really think about it. But sometimes, obviously, uh, you can't go if you're the only warrior and the main warrior in the group. You can't go do the Africa shit. But most of the
User
times I
joined your
played,
channel.
I played with Hiddeh, and he's the guy that gets focused most, and I'm allowed to go further back in to go on healers and casters and stuff like that. So that is why I often overextend. It's a high risk move but high reward as well. So if you can pull it off, if you can kill a couple of those casters in the back, while your main warrior is getting focused by the other warriors, rogues and casters, it's highly rewardable. Is that even a word? Rewardable?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my thought process behind it.
Okay, and Sixt, obviously you've been mentioning, probably not exactly in these specific terms, but a lot of Alliance warriors seem to be taking trips to Africa for their holidays in Warsong Gulch. What are your thoughts about it? Do you do it yourself at all, or or are you quite a sort of a more defensive, passive guy that is quite happy to sit back and let them come to you?
Well, I mean, of course I do it eventually or occasionally, because I mean, I'm human, I make mistakes, but I try not to really. Because it's a bad place to be really. You can force your team to fight in a position which is really not ideal at all. So I really try to avoid going to Africa, as it were.
Yeah, well, speaking from the point of view of the priest, I think the biggest problem of warriors going to Africa isn't necessarily healing you. It's the dispels which you need just as much as the heals, because obviously heals have got 40 yards, dispels have got 20, which in vanilla at least they do. Which apart from being fucking bullshit, does means if you do go to Africa, we have got to follow, and we end up somewhere like I don't know South Spain or somewhere looking across the Mediterranean at you. But in Warsong it's not so bad. But in AB, when you've got quite static positions, obviously warriors going to Africa is a bit worse because as the classic phrase goes, you want to fight at the flag. What do you think about it, Hiddeh, in sort of an AB perspective? Do you find yourselves, is it hard as a warrior to always remember, that you've got to stick by the flag even if your target is, at 10% and running away? or do you find it's quite easy just to sort of keep the control and just turn around and do your job, or do you get caught up in the heat at the moment?
Well, I'm usually the guy, shouting, "Stay near the flag, fight near the flag," because I don't know, for some reason people don't like to be the pre-made, and sometimes it's really fucking frustrating just because of the whispers that you get. But regarding like positioning, I keep an eye on what's going on around. Sometimes I just, have to kill someone or just have to push it. So I do end up in Africa, but just heat of the moment. Of course, everyone makes mistakes, and I made some quite a bit actually. But yeah, it's just like sometimes you just have to kill that guy. Like it's like your life depends on it. I don't know, you just can't control yourself. But when it's like super serious game, you try to bring on your A game and try to focus. Try to call out stuff, what's happening, and try to like the most important thing is to call out when someone else is out of position. Like if an enemy is out of position, you just call it out.
Welcome back, Dragonman. It's good to have you back. Sorry, was it your net or was it your power that went?
Hi. That has never happened before. Really, my internet is very like new and fresh. But yeah, sometime it has to be the first time. I don't know. I've tried to unplug the broadband and router and
User
everything
disconnected
and shit.
from your channel.
But yeah, I'm hosting 3G from my cell phone now to my laptop, so I can at least be here. And it was my,
some dedication.
my router or something. I don't know. Yeah.
You're getting DDoSed by riding dirty. Just saying.
I'm getting
Must be
ganked
that.
by enigmatic. So what? Just to catch up, what we're talking about basically is the slang we use is the term "going to Africa," but it's basically talking about overextension of warriors in PvP, and sort of I guess sort of how to prevent it, and also the mindset that you have as a warrior. Be perfectly honest. If you want to, as Hiddeh said, we're all human, we all make mistakes, and I think every single warrior on the planet, myself included, overextends at some point. And we're sort of just discussing sort of the pros and cons of it. The general consensus seemed to be that in Warsong it's quite often the right thing to do to be a little bit tunnel vision and make sure you get the kill. But obviously in AB, when you're fighting at the flag, or you should be fighting at the flag, going to Africa and overextending is less productive. From your experiences yourself, do you find yourself getting caught up in the moment when you're PvPing, or do you find it okay sort of to sit there and think, okay, I actually need to be fighting at the flag rather than just killing this random guy? Apologies if that was a bit of a mouthful.
No, I think he understood you 100%. Or he got wrecked again.
Yep, both possible.
Moving on.
Dragonmil ripped again. Okay, fair enough. We will get him on at some point. Fucking hell.
Can you hear me?
Oh, he's back.
Hi.
Yes, hi. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So you were talking to me. I don't know what happened there.
Okay.
Yeah, guys, fucking.
I'll rephrase it very, very quickly. But when you're playing your warrior, do you find it hard to always remember that you're sort of playing for a flag or for a cap point? Do you get caught up in the moment, or do you find it quite easy to sort of just remember that the reason you're there is to cap a node or to pick up a flag?
Yeah. I mean, if I happen to play in a pre-made, right? I always have some kind of assignment, right? So if I have a assignment, I think it's pretty basic and easy to follow that assignment. But if I'm pugging, just going by myself, I often get caught up in the moment and just do what I feel like in the. So.
Kill shit.
Yeah, just go kill shit, intercept, and just wreck. But going alone is dangerous as a warrior as well. But because, yeah, I mean, if there happen to be a healer, you will have a hard time if you're facing one. that is. But if there's two, I'll just put it like this: playing arms, you have sweeping strikes, and that is a big ability of yours. You can make big difference by meeting two melees. That often happens in, for example, in Warzone Gulch, and you can meet two melees in melee combat, and you go sweeping strikes, and you can turn the battle to your advantage with that, and I think that's pretty cool. But as mentioned, if you run off by your own and get caught up in the moment, and you don't really plan where you're going, you might go to the graveyard. So
Africa.
to Africa.
Everywhere's Africa to us.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
Okay, so I think the final thing we're going to talk about something that I think is close to everybody's hearts in one way, shape, or form, whether you love it or hate it. I think everybody uses them at some point. Are consumables. So to sort of be more specific when I say consumables, because obviously there's a shitload of them. We're talking about things such as Gnomish Mind Control Cap, Rocket Helm, Sleep Dust, Invulnerability Potion, Free Action Potion. What ones do you guys just sort of find yourself using, fairly often, Hiddeh? We'll include
Dust.
grenades as well. We'll include grenades.
Well, since I don't have engineering and I'm not like a true PvPer because of it, because every serious PvPer has to go for engineering. Because I don't have it, so obviously I don't use any of that stuff. But I would say that I use Dust a lot, and it's the most important tool. Like if you send, let's say, a warrior to take out a flag, and you're in defense, and he faps, then you just use Dust and let him, let the fap expire. It's also good for when you're pushing in for like enemy FC. Like you put a Dust on someone that is usually a priest, then force out of his will of Forsaken, and then you can just fear him or do some other, crowd control on him. But definitely Dust is the one that I use the most. My FAP duration is never longer than 2 or 3 seconds, to be honest. Like everyone either dispels me, and I do get focused a lot. I don't know why, but well, there's so many shiny people around me, and I get focused all the time. I don't know, maybe it's just my point of view, but the average duration of my FAP is like, I don't know, 3 seconds or less. I get purged all the time or dispelled, so I would say that Dust is definitely the one that I use the most, and I think I had like 1k Dusts used so far.
What
Maybe more.
What about you, Tyrese? What are you using?
You're not talking about drugs. Okay.
Well, yeah, obviously we know you're a complete smackhead. Everybody knows that.
Yeah. Well, basically, I use occasionally. I use FAP occasionally and Dust, but that's just so rare because I despise all that crap. Fucking hate everyone who uses it. He should die in fire and burn for eternity. I think
bro.
so fucking mad. You have no idea.
You sound bad.
This is his mad voice. He's actually really angry right now, but his voice just doesn't get louder than that.
Yeah, well, yeah, as I said, I hate the shit out of it. I tend not to use it, but in some premates you just have to use it. It's just have to do it to even try to compete with others.
No, that's a lie, man. Be honest.
What?
You use it just to piss people off, man.
Yes, I do, because they piss me off when they do it. Like all the times, all the fucking times. Yeah, well, yeah, now after this, everyone is gonna slip Dust in Battleground, but that's fine, I guess. What I hate is...
We don't want to know what you hate. We want what do you actually use? What do you use, man?
I use grenades. Yes, that's all I use, and that's mostly versus mages and
Yeah,
Or
so when
just-
you get Nova and they're casting at you, you just throw a nade
Yeah.
on them. Yep.
Yeah.
And then the
That's
odd
pretty
reaction
much it.
potion. And Noggin Fog are obviously most important consumable in the game.
That is, yeah, not on my warrior, but on my mage.
Okay, but Dragonmil, I don't even know what professions you are, mate. I haven't. So apologies for not going through all of this with you. But yeah, what professions are you?
I am a tribal leatherworker and a axsmith. And to answer your question, I don't really use consumables in PvP. It happens I use Noggenfogger just for the fun, just to get tiny or to to slow fall or something like that. But
That
I
is the
don't
biggest
really
consumable,
use,
man. Everybody knows that Noggin Foggers should just be fucking banned from BGs. They're so broken.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't use FAP either because I've used it a couple of times. I bought a couple of stacks, just to try it out because I was getting real tired of getting CC'd and shit like that, and I was like, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna go and buy a couple of stacks and see how it works. But yeah, I used them for a week total, I guess, and it haven't really came to my mind of buying more stacks. So, but in BGs, I'm not. I usually dislike the advantages of using consumables in PvP, because whenever somebody sleeps me with sleep dust, I'm like, and here we go again, So I don't feel like, okay, I want to be the bad guy and do that as well. So, but probably I should start using it more, I guess. But I just don't, and I don't really have that time to go to Westfall and farm the powders or stuff
Yep.
like that. And I'm no engineer, so yeah. And I have pretty rare patterns and plans for my profession, so I don't really want to waste them.
No,
So
that's
that's
fair
why
enough,
I'm
man.
not an engineer. Yeah.
No, sounds good enough. By the way, can you do Devil Sword leggings and gloves? I kind of need a pair for my hunter.
I can do them, most certainly, yes.
Good. Can I get like a stream buddies? Oh, you bastards! They're fuckers. Okay, so I'm getting corpse camped pretty hard. It's some good times.
Well, get used to it.
But yeah, Six. Sorry. It's your turn. Consumables. What consumables do you use most often? And well, yeah, what ones do you find sort of most effective?
Situate, wait.
Six.
He is getting wrecked in Battleground, wait.
Fucking serious gamer.
Okay, we'll come back to you later,
I
mate.
use basically, no, I can probably answer. I use
Okay.
basically everything. I think the number one is probably Swiftness Potions, because it's just massively useful in a lot of scenarios. But yeah, Magic Dusts are really, really strong if you're going for EFC with no CC. You dust the priest or whatever and kill the flag carrier.
Yeah, try
Grenades.
dusting a undead. It's also
Grenades
fun.
obviously for defensive peels, fraps for just killing stuff, and yeah, anti-venom is really, really good for dispelling blind of healers.
Well, at the end of the day, I guess if they're in the game, they're there to be used, so you might as well use them.
Yep.
Well, there are some consumables that people never use. Like, well, of course you use the Scorpion Surprise. I don't know if it's fixed now or not.
It's fixed.
But still, like, there are consumables that people that don't have engineering don't use. Like, you can do like double net, like one with trinket if you have engineering, and one what's it called? Like it drops from Murlocs and Westfall or something.
Sticky sand or sticky glue or something.
No, it's a net. It's some sort of net, like
Like a fishing net.
From Murloc.
yeah, like some Murloc net or whatever. And
Isn't that a Westfall net? Isn't that the Westfall net?
No.
Yeah.
No, that. Yes.
Yes. I said Westfall. Yeah. and then you can use that. But I honestly can't be asked to farm that. I stack only like one. You can't stack more. Like it just consumes the backspace. So yeah. But that shit is pretty good. Like if you have that, then if someone trinkets your net or whatever, then you can just net him again. So it's pretty good. I don't know. I use swiftness potions as well, like Sixt said. But I think the dust is the most important one for pre-made versus pre-made. Like when you just randomly playing, it doesn't really matter. Mostly we're just fucking around, trying to two-shot people and get some big damage up. Just enjoy the game. But when you play it like for real and it's some serious game where you really want to win, then dust is the most important consumable, I think.
Yeah, I think it's the one that has the possibility to have the biggest effect. Like on a sort of on small scale, sort of popping stuff, I think swiftness potions do make a massive difference. But yeah, on sort of like an individual play, dust seems to be the thing that'll get the caps back as much as anything. From my experience, at least, just 30 seconds of unbreakable CC, it's a bastard. So, what one sort of well, probably a quick question for you guys. What individual consumable do you think really makes the biggest difference to Warrior? Just one off the top of my head. So, Hiddeh, one consumable. What's the biggest one that you think makes that Warriors love? And if you could only use one for the rest of your life, what would it be? Consumable wise, is it swiftness pot? Is it FAP? Is it dust?
Well, I don't know, like for fun or for like some serious game, because as
From
I said, for
serious game. We
serious
keep it
game it's
serious, man.
definitely
Yeah.
dust.
Okay. What about
Dust,
you?
then, yeah, it has to be dust.
Yeah. What about you, Sixt? You can only use one for the rest of your life.
Swiftness.
Dragon. You can only use one consumable for the rest of your life in PvP. What would it be? Do you reckon?
I've used run speed sometimes. I like it. I haven't really used dust a lot, but I think if I get to try out the dust more, I think I will get more attached to the dust, I guess.
Okay. And Tyrese finally.
Reaction potion.
Reaction potions. Okay.
Nobody gives a fuck about CQ. No
I-
one is dispelling him or anything.
Oh,
Never.
poor
Fucking
CQ.
street cleaner.
Poor
I
CQ.
hate him.
So, out of the four of you, which of
User
you
left your channel.
do actually have engineering?
Either.
You've got engineering, do you?
Dude, the reflectors are too strong.
Okay, so it's Tyrese and Sixt, the tryhards with engineering, and
I
real
just use grenades, nothing else.
the real men that don't have it. So sort of I guess talking to the real men. Well, we'll start with Hiddeh. Do you feel, do you think, other times when you think, oh shit, if I had engineering I could do this?
Well, I do feel crippled at some point, like if you're playing the serious game and then you don't have, let's say, net, then you're kind of screwed. Like you're not screwing only yourself, you're letting your team down. So, you have to like compensate by doing something more useful, like by doing something really important to make up for the lack of engineering.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, I might cut in front of you. You were gonna say?
well, it's not really a big deal. It's just like sometimes it does cripple you by not having it, but then again, sometimes it can backfire on you, like rocket boots and shit. It can backfire, and you can
Not the gnomish ones.
get punished. But well, some people do have gnome, like the mind control hub as well. It can backfire. So I don't know. It's not that reliable as well. But yeah, I think that if you're like real PvPer, like you want to go try hard and shit, like you should use every tool available to you, and engineering is definitely the best profession for it.
And what about you, Dragon? Have you sort of been? Obviously, you don't. Do you have it?
User
But
in your channel timed out.
is that him timing out, or is Dragon still here? Okay, Dragon's ripped again.
Yep, hear it.
Ah, damn. Okay. We'll ask him later.
User entered your channel.
Or is he back? Is Dragon back?
Yes.
Hey, just in time, mate. Yeah. So, obviously, you don't have engineering. But when you PvP, do you feel that do you notice that? As I said to Hiddeh, are there times when you're playing and you think, oh fuck, if I had a rocket helm here, I could do this, or do you just not miss it because you never really had it?
That's a good question, and I really want to give props to the other guy who answered before me. Really good answers. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty awesome being a warrior, because if you need to move over the landscape pretty quick, you can charge a enemy and being followed by a intercept to climb up pretty quick. And I think having a rocket helmet, I think that's the one which stuns people, right?
Yeah, it only takes for 30 seconds, and you travel to where they are, like a charge.
Exactly, and I've been thinking about that, like having that helmet. I think you get into combat, since I haven't tried it, so I don't really know. But if you don't, you can actually climb even more doing so. But yeah, definitely to answer your question, I can feel not really crippled, but like damn, I could have been using these items as well, and it gives a certain advantage, I think, in different locations and situations. And I think it depends a little bit on if you are like 2 versus 2 or 1 versus 2 or etc. etc. But I don't think it makes a big or huge difference when there's a lot of people facing each other. But yeah, I haven't been using it, so I don't think either that I miss it somehow. So I'm doing pretty well, I think, as I'm doing right now. So, but maybe I should use some more consumables.
No, sounds good, man. Sounds good. Another pick on Dragon question, because he hasn't been here. Earlier we were talking about actually I think we can pick on Hideous for this as well. We were talking about trinkets, and Tyrese was basically saying that he had sort of 4 trinkets that he only ever used. What was it? Hand of Justice, Black Hand's Breadth, PvP trinket. What was the 4th one?
Life-giving gem.
Life-giving gem. Hiddeh and Dragon, we'll start with Dragon. What sort of trinkets do you go into PvP? Because what do we call it? Sixt had, Sixt has got about like 12 trinkets or however many you had. He's got all of them, tidal charm, all of that kind of shit. How many trinkets do you have, and sort of what ones do you find useful in PvP?
My basic setup right now is Insignia of the Horde and Life-giving gem. Yeah, I mean, I had my gem lying around in the bank for quite a while, and one day I felt like, okay, let's try this bitch and see how it goes. And sometimes it can be a game changer when I'm doing 1 versus 1 or 1 versus 2. So I like it that way. But I have been running with Hand of Justice and Insignia of the Horde quite a lot, like almost all the time, because I am sword spec'd in my talents, and having the
Proc.
what's the
Just
name?
chain procs.
Yeah, chain procs, basically, yeah. And and as well, if you have a shaman who is hosting Wind Fury for you, you will most likely be spamming Hamstring, and that will increase the chances of a proc as well. So it depends a little bit on your setup, what you are having behind you. But right now I'm running with Life-giving gem and Insignia, and I think it works pretty well, to be honest. So yeah, but to answer another question quick, which was stated, pugs or premades. Since I don't, well, I want to premade. I want to climb my ranks much quicker, but I don't really have a premade to go with, so I pug like 100% of my time. So I just go for the gem right now, since I don't know all the time what people I will have in my back. So yeah.
Mhm.
So
And-
I run with the gem right
Yeah.
now.
Well, we'll come back to the pug question because I'm interested to ask you something about that actually. But just for now, keeping with the trinkets, what about you, Hiddeh? What trinkets what's your standard build, and what do you sort of swap out for if things get on cooldown or whatever?
Well, I don't use much. I only use 3. Well, 4 actually. I use Nifty Stopwatch, but this is really long cooldown. I only use it like to carry flags. But other than that, I always have Blackhand's Breath equipped, which is the most important trinket for me. And I swap Insignia with Hand of Justice when it's off cooldown. And like we weren't really lucky with live viewing gem drops, so I never got it. But I would value that
With
one.
disenchanted too. Just saying.
I don't really care now since I don't have time to play and I'm pretty much a goner.
He cares really.
No, I don't. Like, it sucks that I didn't get it, but it sucks that I didn't finish my ranking as well. So, all in all, when it comes to trinkets, like Black and Breath, highest value. Second highest is so obviously Insignia. Third is Life Giving Gem. And, well, Hand of Justice as the fourth one. I don't think the title charm is all that important. I mean, it's nice to have it, but it's not that important, in my opinion. I mean, I didn't really feel like I'm losing out on by not having a title charm. Unlike engineering, like the net and the reflectors, those are game changers. But other than that, that's pretty much it. All from the trinkets that you need to use.
Mhm. So skipping back a bit, just to you, Dragon, you mentioned you're not playing in pre-mades at the moment. You're just pugging, and one of the questions and one of the discussions we had earlier that you missed was basically just talking about warrior in a pug environment, because obviously a warrior in a pre-made environment, you'd assume it's probably a bit more of an enjoyable experience when you've got people dedicated to dispelling you and to keeping you alive. How are you finding it just pugging it? Is it still enjoyable? You still having a good time? Or are you tearing your hair out because you're crowd controlled all the time? You never get heals, and it's just going all a little bit wrong for you. How's your pug experience been so far on ED?
Yeah. So where to start? Nah, but my recent pug experience on ED has been pretty up and down. Sometimes, I mean, it depends on what I'm facing. If I'm facing a pre-made, I mean, there's better pre-mades and there's a little bit less better pre-mades out there. So let's start with if I meet a pre-made which is like less better, I can do a difference. I feel like I can do a difference with my gear and my class and my skill and whatever that comes at hand. So yeah, I mean, I put out quite some damage out there, and if their pre-made is maybe doing a wrong step or failing a little bit at some point, I might get a couple of kills before I go down myself. But if it's a very organized pre-made with a lot of healers, I can't do nothing almost. If I want to do something while facing a good and organized pre-made, I most likely have to use all my consumables, which are like offhand, Discal of Impending Doom, and Stopwatch, and Swift Boots, and Runeblade of Baron Rivendare, and stuff like that, to get a quick cap or something like that. So, pugging as a warrior on Needy right now, the satisfaction of pugging mostly depends on what your enemies are and who they are. So if you're meeting and facing a pug from Alliance, I find it very enjoyable and I think it's fun because I can actually be a game changer in my team, and I think that's a very nice experience. But if I'm pugging, as mentioned, and meeting a good pre-made, I feel like I just want to wait out the battle and so on, but I don't. I just go on and try my best. But yeah, it's not quite enjoyable when you're meeting a good pre-made. So my answer to you is it depends on what you meet, what you're facing. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's my
that's
answer,
good, man.
I guess.
No, very fair. Right. Coming actually coming to the end almost. Got a last sort of individual questions for people. And we'll start with Sixt. Or well, Sixt, are you still in your Uber serious pre-made or?
Nope.
Okay, I've got your attention again. So someone once said to me, I think this isn't the exact quote, but this is the general gist. Without Sixt, the Horde pre-made just doesn't go. So what's your response to this statement? And if this is the case, what do you think that you bring as an individual to the table that really makes the difference?
I don't know. I think without Solg, it's a more accurate statement. But I mean, I've been the one in charge for quite a while, and I'm usually the one calling targets and strategies, etc. So of course, I mean, if you play without a leader, it's harder. But I don't know. I'm also been main guy on offense, I guess. A lot of my time in BGs has been about killing EFC, so I have a lot of experience there about how to shut down a druid, how to catch them, etc.
And is that where you sort of envisage warriors placed within a Warzone Gulch team as being the guys leading and calling the targets, or do you think there are I don't know, say a mage or a warlock? Do they think who would you say is going to be the best at calling the targets?
I think either warrior or like shaman, like elemental shaman or warlock probably is the best because they're the classes that will always be in midfield no matter what. On the other hand, warriors, if you have to, you'll probably split them. Like you have one guy who focuses on EFC and the other on defense.
Going back to Dream Dragon, not Dream Dragon, sorry, I do apologise. Dragonmil. So speaking to Dream Dragon and Whispers, you've obviously, well, you're well known as probably the biggest streamer on ED, and I know a lot of people do stream ED, myself included. But you seem to be one of the few guys that is sort of making it work, shall we say, for want of a better word. What do you think it is about your stream and about the content you produce that is obviously, draws the numbers and has the number of people watching it, as versus, say, I don't know, a Team Plague stream. If we do a Team Plague raid, we'll get maybe 20 viewers, and that's like, even if we're doing a really fast clear or something like that. If you're just casually sat in Orgrimmar, you'll probably still have more viewers than us. What do you think it is about your stream that people find so entertaining? And how have you sort of broken the curse of ED when it comes to a small community, but still having a good follower base on Twitch?
Okay. Okay. Let's see where to start. When I started game, I'll just do a quick recap of my history, which is pretty much a long story, but I'll try to make it short. When I started to play games, I was 2 years old, and I started to play a PlayStation 1. And since then, I've been like, that has been my number one interest of all times. Though I'm a very social person, I like to talk, I like to meet people, and socialize. I like that a lot. So even in real life, I'm a really nice guy. I like to laugh, make people have a good time, and yeah, all that. So And I think when I get to do something fun, which I think is fun, I want others to have fun as well. So when I play games, for example, World of Warcraft, which I have played for like 7-8 years, something like that. I'm having fun. I'm sharing my experience while showing people my playstyle, and I think many people are interested to see how a warrior with quite good gear, I think I can say, how he plays and what his UI looks like, how then the numbers are, crits, etc. And but what what separates my stream from other streamers? Well, I think it depends a lot on the streamer himself. What he does, what he is saying. Is he showing himself? Is he using his mic? Showing yourself on a live cam. But I've been tuning around on other streams. It doesn't really have to be World of Warcraft, but it can be other games. But many people are just sitting there, staring at their monitors, not saying a thing. And if I are viewing such a stream, I get really bored quick. So I always try to be talking, always try to have a discussion up. I'm very keen to talk to my viewers, getting to know them, and not just being like, okay, I have to talk to keep them entertained. It's not like that, because if I don't want to talk, I keep silent, and then people will be like, "Oh, Drago, what's wrong? Why are you so quiet?" And then I explain, and I mean, there is the conversation again. So yeah, I feel like I've been talking in circles now, but
No, it's good, man.
yeah.
It's good. It's good. No, it's good. It answers the question that I asked and then some. And you know, obviously streaming myself and just thinking about this exact stream. You know, obviously it's not quite what you do, but at the same time, you know, having watched your stream the other day, I noticed how much time you spent, obviously, reading chat and talking to people on chat. If I stream like this whole time I've been streaming, I think I've looked at chat maybe 3 or 4 times, and I certainly haven't answered any questions. I think the most I did was ban somebody.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
but yeah, I mean, I put a lot of time into my viewers, and I mean, I get to know a lot of them more than just being a name writing something. I mean, when somebody I like tunes into my stream and says, "Hey man," I'm like, "Wow, welcome, and it's nice to have you here," because I really feel that way because I like the person. It's not. I mean, I don't say that just to say it. I say it because I feel something. I feel that I'm enjoying the moment, and that I mean, some person is there. I like the guy. I like talking to the guy, and I mean, people like that. People like when you put time into the viewers, when you put time into making them have a really good time, and that's my main purpose. My other main purpose is also to meet new people and to talk to them, and maybe get to help them as well in their game. So, and if you watched the prior stream, I guess you heard at some point that I support new players on Emerald Dream, and that if they have a new character or something like that, they can go ahead and whisper me, and I'll try to help them out with maybe a couple of golds or a bag or something like that. And in that way, new players will get a kind of relation with you and feel like, okay, but this guy is nice. He's just not a guy who keeps talking rubbish, and he actually cares. And I think that is important, that you show that you care to your viewers in a real way and not in a false way, just to get them views. You know?
yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Thank you. So going on to Tyrese, obviously you've got your warrior to 13 now. And I know you've got your mage up to 60 now. CQ low is now 60. Can we expect to see CQ low ranking it up, whipping it up in some BGs? Are you gonna go for another 13, or have you decided the PvP scene has ruined your life for one lifetime, or do you feel like doing it again?
Rank 13 with mage?
Yep.
Not only no, but fuck no. But yeah, I might do 10 just for the lols. Of course, I'm not gonna pug it. There's no fucking chance in high hell. But if pre-mage shows up and they need a player, of course I'll play.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And what about you, Hiddeh? When are you going to come back, man? When are we going to see Hiddeh 2? Or little Hiddeh?
I don't know.
Soon?
I don't know. It depends on my shifts. Like if they change, if I have some free time to play, then I might come back. But at the moment, I don't know.
Well, I think
yeah.
the question in all of our minds is, if you do come back, would you go for 14? Would you do the last bit, or are you comfortable with your 13?
It's just 3 weeks more, man. I would definitely finish it. Like the Team Plague front page has been updated with people reaching their desired ranks. You don't see CQ there. You don't see me there. So
It's not been done. The story's not finished.
CQ.
Well, bro, I'm commander, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Who cares? You just pussy it up. Yeah, you have to finish it, man. You deserve a spot on.
Right.
The CQ Hiddeh bromance is not over. It will come back.
Well, if I have time to play again, then I will definitely finish it. Like the ranking. It's just 3 weeks.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And what about you, Sixt, man? You're done. This is your last week, isn't it?
Yeah, well, this week and next, so like 24 hours plus next week.
And then you're done. What are your plans for afterwards? What's going to be the future of Sixt?
I have no idea. Like, I need to do catch up on some uni work and stuff first. I got a lot of real life things I gotta prepare, or catch up on. So I'm probably not gonna be super active over the next few weeks, but then I don't know. Go back to raiding, I guess. Play some casual PvP.
Go back to Fury, or as with the what axes you'll be using, won't it? Because you're what do you call it, an orc?
Yeah.
Sounds good. And I guess on the questions of what's coming in the future, Dragonmil, what are we going to see from you? Are we going to see High Wall or Dragonmil? Or
Well, that's yeah.
I was just going to say, what are your plans? Is it going to be just taking the stream to bigger and better places, or you got any plans or ideas, or is it just going to see where the world takes you?
Well, that is definitely a plan of mine. But when talking about the rank 14 and stuff, I mean, I've had countless of questions on my stream regarding that issue. Like, okay, Drago, are you gonna go for rank 14? And I'm like, I'm rank 8 at the moment. I'm Legionnaire. I'm just focusing on getting to champion now, which is 10. Then I'm probably gonna make a little break from PvP, a couple of weeks. I want to catch up on other games such as Daisy, maybe try out Rust, play some more horror games because that was a big success. Yeah, I mean, but one of my biggest dream with World of Warcraft since I started out was to get rank 14. I mean, when I was a kid, when I was like 11, 12, I inspected my torrent in the dress room with rank 14 gear and weapons, and I even printed out a screen cap of myself and I put it on my wall, and I thought for myself, okay, I'm gonna look like that one day. And
Such
yeah,
fat
I mean,
wannabe.
yeah, well, yeah, pretty much.
That's some
I mean,
honesty,
Pat
man.
is,
That is some honesty. I got some props for the honesty of admitting that, particularly on stream.
thanks. Thanks. Yeah, but I mean, back then I felt like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, man. But tell you guys now, I mean, I think I haven't told anybody about it, but I don't really feel bad about it. But Pat is definitely one of my big idols, even though he's a clicker. And every time I'm telling people like, okay, I like Pat, he's a great guy, and I love the videos, and they are like, he's a clicker, man. What the fuck? But I'm like, well, I looked up to him back then, and I do that now, and if I would have the chance to play like he did, that would be awesome. So, rank 14 is coming. I can't give you a ETA. It all depends on the future, because as I mentioned before, I have full-time work, I have a girlfriend, and yeah, there's a lot of things going on online and offline for me. So, but definitely, I hope for 14. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
I think with the system as it is, it's obviously it's achievable because it's achievable in bite-sized chunks, which I think is, there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of sort of, I don't know, discussion, we call it. I won't call it rage, but we call it discussion on the forums about adding decay and things like that. And personally, I think it's quite nice that you can sit on your rank until you're basically ready to do it. So people such as yourself, or people that are, um, you know, you know, that work, that have a real life basically, that can commit their time and plan their time around their work rather than plan it around having to spend the next 2 months of their lives doing this. They can work for X amount of time and then spend the odd week here, there, and everywhere, whatever, getting a decent standing, and if they really want to, take some time off work to do the last couple of weeks and push for the 14. So, it is manageable, I think, for people that are working or do have more constructive real lives than certainly it was on live, where it was, have you got 3 months of your life to waste? If so, then yes. If not, then good luck.
Yeah, man. I beg to God that they won't add that DK, because then I'm probably fucked for now. Yeah, I just hope that they won't make that happen, and I hope I can be sitting on rank 10 for
User
quite a
joined
while
your channel.
until I have more time. So yeah.
You better hurry up, bro.
No,
Yeah,
there was
man.
there was a post on Phoenix forums that they will never add it, so you shouldn't worry about that.
No, it said they wouldn't add it for now. Maybe
No.
later. Maybe when they fix the honor system, so yeah, it might be a while.
From what I've seen, it's like Sideways was mentioning about that DK that it will never happen. Maybe I guess it's too much work or whatever.
I don't think it adds anything.
No, it doesn't.
There was
And
some, I don't know, there's been a lot of back and forth.
It just adds pressure, and people already got their high warlords and grand marshals already. It doesn't really matter. It wouldn't be fair to others if the change happened. But personally, what I had issues with is that this core merge fucked me over for 800k in marks that I had in my mailbox. So I could have had easy 2 weeks of PvP and just chilling around and then just play for 1 week and finish my ranking. But it's pretty much gone now. So yeah, I would have to man the fuck up and play again if I want to get that 14 done.
You were talking about the thing that happened now, like a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah, same here, man. I lost like 3 or 4 pages of marks, and I was like, the fuck?
3 or 4? How about 70, 80 or more?
Yeah, okay, might have been something like that then. I lost a shit ton, and that was what I reacted to.
Well,
I think that is the end of everything written down and constructed wise. I'd like to say thank you to all 4 of you for coming on. It's been fantastic to have you here and to chat. I hope people that have listened have enjoyed it. I hope people that corpse camped me and ganked me also enjoyed it. It's always good times. So yeah, thank you very much to all of you. I'm going to end the official the VOD now, but you are all welcome to keep to stay on and chat if you want to, and talk about everything and anything that you want to. I'm not kicking you out or anything, but certainly this is the end of the VOD. So if any of you have shout outs to anybody, let's go for it.
Shout out to Hiddeh, my idol and mentor.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I want to do a shout out to the PvPers in Dreamstate. I probably wouldn't have kept playing if it weren't for them.
Yeah, I want to do a shout out to all the Pygers on the Horde side. Yeah, keep it going, and I hope I can get into some serious PvP soon. Cheers, man, and cheers, people.
Well, I will keep it brief. I just want to give props to Team Plague for being an amazing guild that it is, even though people will hate me for saying it.
I hate you.
There's some serious hater out there, and the PvP crew, even some of them retired, like Zeal and people outside of Team Plague, Aftershock, but I think he's still playing around casually or something like that. But yeah, that's well, let's not waste too much time since you're finishing this up. So yeah, Team Plague, my PvP group, and some players on Horde side, like Sixt, and I had some fun duels with Showtime, so I will give a shout out to him as well. And next time when we duel, I will use this arm.
I think the biggest thing I'm taking away from today is that when Hiddeh says I'm going to keep this short, it's a fucking lie. Okay, guys, I call it there. Thank you very much to everybody for coming, for listening, for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and took something away from it. I believe the next one should be Druids. I don't know exactly when that will be, but the information will come to follow. Apologies for my internet. And the stream, as always, it will improve with time when I get proper cable in February. So thanks, guys, and official end. That's it. We're done. It's over. Fucking cunt nigger. There we go.
Shout out to Showtime, so.